Hey everyone, this is Mukesh Otwani once again from learn-animation.com. Today in this video we are going to talk about what is testRigor. I'm sure you must have heard of this tool. If not, then watch the video till the end, because in this video we are going to talk about what is testRigor and what functionality it offers. So let's get started. So now if you talk about what is testRigor, so it's a test automation tool which will help you to automate your web application and mobile applications. So when I say mobile application, you can test mobile web applications or native web applications as well. So why we are using testRigor, or why we should go for testRigor? There are plenty of different tools available in the market, right? That what is different in testRigor? So basically in testRigor you don't need to write any single line of code. Okay, you write your test cases just like a plain English, like how you test your application manually, right? In the same way you can write your automated tests using plain English. Okay, so definitely once we move ahead I will show you how you can write test cases, but it's like writing just like click on this, type here and write just like a plain English, and you will be able to automate your application. The most important part of this tool is test maintenance. Okay, you can actually reduce test maintenance if you start using testRigor, because it can make this test maintenance very easy. So suppose you have 10 test cases, and let's say 10, not say 10, let's say 100 test cases. Okay, and because of some application change or maybe some locator change, if something has to be updated in all the test cases, so using testRigor you can actually replace once, like you can find once and you can replace in all the test cases in one single click. Okay, so once we move ahead you will see this feature and it's very easy. Okay, so you can actually reduce the maintenance by 90%. So if you talk about the traditional automation tools, you just need to update the locators, right? Again, if you have the multiple test cases, then you might have to update multiple scripts, or you might have to update at multiple places. But with the testRigor you don't have to struggle much. So test maintenance part, so all the points that we will discuss now, we will actually see them one by one in the upcoming video. testRigor also have its own Chrome extension which you can download and you can start recording your steps. Okay, so just like other recorders, it can record your steps and it will generate a plain English for you, which you can execute through testRigor directly. It's a very interesting feature. You might have to modify these steps little bit, but if the steps are correctly, you don't need to record. But if you want to change something, you can edit these steps and you can run them accordingly. So as I mentioned earlier, apart from web, you can also test our mobile web applications and native mobile applications as well, again without any coding, just like a plain text English you need to write, and you will be able to do the mobile automation as well with the help of testRigor. Okay, this is a very interesting point. It actually have cross browser support. So basically you can test your application in different different browsers, let's say Chrome, Edge, Firefox, Safari. Okay, and they also have an integration with Browserstack and Lambda. So suppose by default testRigor supports the latest browsers, okay, but in case if you want to test a specific versions, and if you have the integration with Browserstack, Lambda, you can actually integrate testRigor with these and you can execute your test into the different browser combinations as well. When it comes to cross-platform, yes, you can actually run your test in Windows, you can test on macOS, you can also test in Linux as well. Okay, so depends on a requirement, you can choose the different browser and the platform combination you want. Suppose you want Windows Chrome or macOS Safari, Linux Firefox, so all this combination you can do that because it has cross browser and cross platform support. So testRigor also provides CI/CD support. Okay, so suppose if you want to integrate your testRigor with Jenkins, you can do that. So suppose you want to build a specific job, or if you have a CI/CD pipeline, yes, you can easily integrate that with testRigor and you can start executing your test. So apart from this, if you notice, testRigor also have integration with Jira. You can also integrate them with TestRail, Azure DevOps, AppleTools and few other libraries. Okay, so when it comes to integration, testRigor is quite flexible, depends on your need, you can integrate and you can start executing them. So now let's compare the traditional automation tool versus testRigor. Okay, so let's take an example that you want to automate 10 scenarios using Selenium. So first of all, you need editor. Okay, so you need to use either Eclipse, IntelliJ, VS Code or any other editor of your choice where you can actually write the code. Then you need to select which programming language you want to choose, right? So depends on what programming you want to choose, the editor will change. Suppose if you want to write the test in Java, JavaScript, Python, according to the programming language, editor will also change. Then you need build tool like Maven or Gradle, right? And you also need third-party libraries. So suppose if I want to use some test framework, I have to use JUnit, testng, or if I have to read or write the Excel, I need Apache Py, right? There are tons of different libraries we need to use in order to write our automated test cases. But that's not the case with testRigor. So with the help of testRigor, okay, first of all you have to sign up. So the moment you sign up, okay, you will get the credentials, then you can log in with the credentials and you can start writing a test in plain English. No programming, no editor, no third-party libraries. Start writing your test in plain English. They also have a very detailed documentation which will help you to write your test. Okay, so this is the official website of testRigor, which is testRigor.com, and you can see test automation tools, manual tester, automate test, 15x faster, spending 99.5 less time on the maintenance. Most important part, you can write your highly stable test in just plain English. So these steps emulate the way human will interact with that application. It could be mobile, it could be the web application. Again, please explore this testRigor. Anyways, we will be covering this in the upcoming videos. So if you have further questions like why testRigor, some case studies, features, okay, what testRigor provides, some FAQ. So I would highly recommend that if you visit the FAQ section, you'll get a lot of information about testRigor, what it can do and what it cannot do. Okay, sign up and login is very easy. You just need to sign up. So I will give you the link in the description from where you can sign up and continue. Okay, so the moment you sign up, you will see which plan you want to proceed. So depends on your requirement, you can select a specific plan and you can continue. So you can see they have one plan which is free open source. So in this free plan, what you will see, all the tests and the results that you will get will be public open source. So anybody on the internet, they can see and they can share your result as a public URL. Apart from this, yes, unlimited users, unlimited test cases, unlimited test suites which you can create, and you can only execute one parallel test. Okay, so if you want to run test in parallel mode, right, in that case you have to select the different pricing plan. They're also coming with a new pricing plan, so we have to wait for it, but as of now they have the 3 different plans. So depends on your need, depends on your requirement, you can select a specific plan and you can continue. Once you sign up, you can log in and you can start using it. Okay, so once we move ahead, I will definitely show you how to get started with testRigor, the quick overview of UI of testRigor and how you can write your first test using testRigor. Okay, as I mentioned, please go through the FAQ. So this is the basic question which you must be thinking, how it is different from Selenium, how it is different from BDD like Cucumber Gherkins. So they have already covered this FAQ section, so please go through this. Yeah, so that's all from my side. So this is just a quick introduction about the testRigor. Today in this lecture we are going to talk about how to get started with testRigor, and I will quickly show you some options that you will be getting with testRigor, okay, so that it will be easy for you once you start working with testRigor. So in order to get started, you just need to click on sign up. If this is the first time you are using it, you have to sign up. If you have already signed up, you can continue with the login part. So depends on the requirement, you can select a specific plan and you can continue. For example, if I click on the free plan, you can see we have a first name, last name, phone number, email, password, and some other details. The moment you fill these details, you are good to go. You will get a confirmation mail. Just confirm your email and you can easily log in to testRigor. So let me show you what you will get after login. So let's say I have already logged in. So the moment I click on login, okay, I already have logged in into some other session. So it will take that session and it will give me my existing test suite which I have already. And here we go. So on the left hand side, you can see I have a couple of test suites. In your case, it will be completely blank. So you can create test suite, depends on the requirement. I will show you how to do that. So right now I have 4 test suite, test suite 1, 2, 3 and 1 Swiggy scenario. On the right hand side, you can see we can create a new test suite. As you can see, the test suite name, it will ask you the type of testing that you want to perform. If you click on this drop down option, we have desktop web testing, mobile web testing, native and hybrid mobile, right? Apart from this, you can see the URL. Actually, that's the application that you want to test. In case if your application have credentials, you can directly pass the username password from here. And as you can see, you can also give which operating system you want to use. You want to select Ubuntu, you want to select Windows and OS X. In the same way, depends on which operating system you select, you can select the browsers. Okay, so browser, Chrome, Firefox, and if you go with, let's say, Windows and OS X, based on that the browsers will change. Now this is one of the good option from testRigor, where it will automatically create your test cases, okay, based on auto discovery. So it will scan your application that you will provide, it will check how many test cases as a user can be created, and it will create that test cases for you. So default number is 10, as you can see, and limited, basically when you go with free version you have limited options like 0 to 10, but if you go with paid version there's unlimited numbers. Okay, so before we move ahead, I also want to show you the advanced setting part. As you can see, now these settings you can change even once you create your test suite. It's not that you can create change only at the time of test suite creation. Maybe once you're done with your test suite creation, and if you want to update them later on, you can do that. So if you click on advanced settings, you can see we have a couple of other details, like you can pass the authentication information, proxy information, speed optimization, retesting information, error report and integration with the different tools that you have, right? Test generation and some other general details as well. Okay, as you can see, the screen resolution size, how do you want to process the next tab, and so on. So I will show you these same settings even after creating the test suite. And this part, which is very common that you will see in your test scenarios, the timeouts, right? The maximum timeout scenarios, payload scenarios, download time, delay for all pages to render, and so on. So right now I'm going to create one test suite with these details. Okay, so let me quickly change this test suite name, or the test suite name I will write as Orange HRM test suite. Basically we will be testing one Orange HRM application, so based on that I have written a name called Orange HRM test suite, but you can change, depends on your requirement. Okay, now I will quickly enter the application URL. So this is the application URL. I will share this URL in the comment section and in the description of this video, so you can give a try, follow the same steps that I'm following. I will share the credentials as well, in case if you want to follow the same application with the same credentials. Now you can see we have OS details, like which OS you want to select. I will select Ubuntu because I have free account as of now, and I will also select Chrome, which is the default. If you want to go with Firefox, you can do that. And right now I don't want any self-discovery scenario or auto discovery scenario, so I will select this as 0, and I will quickly create a test suite. Okay, so the moment I create a test suite, it will take few seconds and your test suite will be ready. So you can see test suite created, test of web application started, and you will get this dashboard. Now this is for this particular test suite, so if you want to navigate to other test suite, you can do that. For example, I have created 3 different test suites, so I can navigate to each and every test suite and I will get the respective test suite details. Okay, so now let me give you a quick tour about this UI so that you will be comfortable once we move ahead. So let's start with the top right corner. You can see, as usual, this is your profile section, change password, find a job, and logout. This part I will discuss in the upcoming videos. For the timing, let's not discuss this part, which is find a job. Then we have a resource. This is very important part, guys. So if you want to explore testRigor from your site, you should definitely check their documentation. It's very easy and very straightforward to use. Once we move ahead, anyways, I will show you these options, how to use this documentation, but it's self-explanatory, like how to use the variables, loop, how to apply some validations, conditional statements, right? How to work with tables, upload file, download file, everything. Just to give you a quick example, for example, you want to have a click action. Okay, so you can see we have a double click, right click, middle click, long click, how many times you want to click, and these are some examples they have given, like click on cart, click on the third hello 5 times, click Chrome in the context of Pixel 3 XL, click in the middle of the screen, double click, right click, long click, right? So multiple options. they have already provided in the documentation, which will help you to understand how this tool works. Apart from this, as you can see, some sample tests, support, Q&A, and Chrome extension as well. So you can see I already have one Chrome extension, which is testRigor Chrome extension, which I will show you in the upcoming lectures. For the time being, just go through the documentation. Now in the left hand side, you can see this is your test suite details, okay, which is all these details. So right now the test case count is 0. We have not created any test cases, so count is 0. The moment you create test cases, this count will change. Again, they have my request section, BTD section, the last run, like the moment you have multiple tests, right? It will show you the reports, review, and if any error, it will show you here. All the runs on this particular test suite. And this is very interesting part, which is shared suite. For example, I have 3 test suites, okay? Test suite 1, test suite 2, test suite 3. And from the test suite 2, I want to inherit something. I want to reuse something. So if I want to do that, I can do that with the help of shared suite. Okay, so right now the test suite which we created, which is Orange HRM test suite, right? So if this test suite want to inherit something from another test suite, we can do that from this section. If I click on it, you can see this. Test cases, test data, and test rules can be shared between test suites by the concept of inheritance. A child suite will inherit from a parent and it can override the data if desired. Okay, so as of now, there is no parent suite selected, but you can select which parent suite you want and you can inherit test cases, test data, test rules. Don't worry about this, we'll discuss them one by one. Again, we have reusable rules. For example, if you want to reuse something which is common across all the test cases, you can actually create a rules and you can reuse them in all the test cases. A very basic example is log in log out, right? So log in log out is something which is common in each and every test case. You can export them as a rules and you can use them in all the test cases. Again, we have test data. If you want to have some test data throughout your test suite, you can do that. Okay, we'll talk about how to use this test data in your test cases. These are some default values for discovery, CI/CD integration. Okay, they have options for bash and PowerShell, and these are the settings. These settings are the exact same settings which I was showing you at the beginning. So either you can do this setting while creating your test suite, or if you want to change these settings after creating the test suite, you can go from here. So you can see these are the default settings, which is just changing the name. These are the authentication details, okay, basic and digest HTTP authentication. Again, proxy details, speed optimization, where you can override the timeout and deletes, retesting, error reporting, integration with the different tools, right? Multiple browser supports. So right now for our test suite, Ubuntu and Chrome is selected, but let's say you want to select different combinations, you can do that from here. Okay, so if you want to create test cases, then you just need to go to test cases sections. You can add custom test case and you can start writing your test cases. So in the next lecture, I will show you from the scratch. I will show you how to write the first test case in testRigor and how to execute, and how to see the logs, how to see the reports, how to see the videos. Plus we will also take one scenario where we will fail the test cases and we'll see how to analyze the same. Okay, so that's a quick tour about testRigor. I hope it helped. So guys, today we will talk about how you can write your test cases in testRigor. So in the previous lectures, we have seen a quick overview what exactly the testRigor is and the UI, everything, right? Now let's quickly see how we can create the test cases as well. So in the last video, I showed you how to create a test suite, right? And we have created this test suite called Orange HRM test suite. So I will add one scenario here and I will show you how you can start writing your test cases with testRigor. The moment I open this test suite, now it will open that particular test suite and now we can start writing our test cases. Okay, so as of now you can see we have no test cases, right? So it says no test cases yet, and we also have something called test suite hooks. Now if you have gone through some of the previous automation, if you have worked on any automation tool earlier, you must be familiar with hooks. If not, then don't worry. Once we move ahead, we'll talk about what exactly is hook and what exactly this before test suite and after test suite. For the time being, let's close this and start writing our first test case. So you can see we have one option here called add new custom test case. So click on this, and now you can start writing your test cases just like a plain English. So the first field is description, where you can actually tell what exactly your test case is all about. Okay, like log in, log out, add product, or make payments. It could be anything, depends on requirement. You can write the test cases. Okay, so in order to write my first test case, I'm using this application, but feel free to use any application because testRigor is not dependent on any application. Okay, so feel free to use your own application, but if you are the newcomer to testRigor, use the same application, follow the steps which I'm going to show you so that you can replicate the same, and once you're comfortable, then start automating your own application. Okay, so let's go back, and you can see here I will write the test case name is login to application. This is the test case name I want, and now as you can see we have something called enter hello into enter message, press submit, right? So click on the documentation part and it will open in a new tab, and you can see these are the basic commands that you can use. So for click, you can use click. For generate, I will talk about the generate also. Enter, type, check. Okay, check for the page, check for the elements, long press over, and so on. So I'm going to show you a few commands today which is required for our first test case. So just search for something called enter. Okay, so as you can see, now we can use enter. You can also use type as well. So I'm going to use enter. So what exactly I want to try here? So I want to enter my username, password, and I want to click on login button. This is the first scenario that we want to try. So now if you just type enter, now what exactly you want to enter? Let's say you want to enter username. So for this application, username is admin, then I will use into, and now where exactly you want. So I want to enter admin inside this username field, right? So I can write here username. Now I want to enter the password. Now what is the password? I will give you the password in the description. You can just use the same password for your demo purpose. So now type enter. Now this is the password. I will give you this password now, and just write into. Now which field? Okay, see, good part, you don't have to worry about the locators part. Okay, you don't have to worry about the X part, CSS selector, or any other locator. You can just type username, password. So this is the label, right? Password. You can just type password. Make sure you give in double quotes. So this is your test data. This is on which element you want. Again, this is my test data, which is nothing but password, and this is the element. Now I want to click on login. So I can say click on login, but again, if you notice, we have two login here, right? Login and login. Now which login it will click? Let's see. And if you want to click on the desired login, let's say I want the first login, second login. In that case, how we can do that? But let's say I want to say click on, and I want to click on login. Okay, or you can see now this is login with all capitals, right? And this is login with one L and capital L remaining in small case. So let's say if I give this, so if I give login, then it will click on this, right? Let's say, so if I click on add and run, let's see what happens. Now the moment you say run, you can see this is getting executed. Yellow color means it's executing, it's in a queue. Click on this small arrow icon and you will see the execution is running. Execution is happening, and you will see all the screenshot one by one. That's a very good feature which I found. So you can see here, right, one by one you will see all the steps. So this is the application loading, then it is performing all your steps like admin into username, password into this, then it did the click on the login button. Click on this. So this is the first one which is loading. Then if you notice, let me maximize this. Can you see it entered username, it entered password, then it clicked on this login button. But what if I want to click on this login? We'll see that part as well, because as per my requirement I want to click on the first one, right? So now I have multiple options. So one is I can give the exactly login with all caps. So let's see how we can do that. So since we have not added any assertion, guys, okay, so it is passing my test case. but actually I want to see after login whether I'm getting the welcome screen or not, add button or not. So we'll see that part as well. So as of now there's no assertion added here. Again I will click on edit test case. I can start editing. This time I can write login with all caps, and I will say update and retest. Again it says test case updated, it is in a queue and it will take few seconds and it will run. Again, if you see, we have something called execution link, right? So this is the execution ID. If you open this execution ID, you will see the all steps again through this link. So anyways, it will update here, but if you want directly, you can click on this execution ID and it will show you in a new tab. But anyways, it will update everything here as well. And see, good part now guys, it has actually highlighted as well, right? This is the admin username. It actually clicked on login. And if I show you the next screenshot, so because this time it clicked on the valid login button, we are getting this login page. But we have not added any validation, so let's quickly add one validation as well. Now, how do you verify whether you landed on the right page or not? For example, if I log in with my valid credentials, so now you can see we have multiple ways to validate. I can check whether URL contains dashboard or not. Do we have this welcome option or not? Do we have this admin PIM tab, or can I see this dashboard? So I can verify in a different ways, right? So again, if you come back to the documentation and if you click on the validation part, you can actually do validation in different level. So you can do validation at the element level, right? You can also do validation at the page level for the whole screen and page. For example, you want to check the page contains this or not. Page does not contain this. Page contains title. Page contains URL. URL is not. You can also do the partial matching with the help of regular expressions as well. URL ending with this or not. Starting with this or not, right? So multiple ways to do that. So I can use this part which is check that page contains let's say admin, or maybe I can use this welcome. Anything is fine. So what I can do, I can go back and check here, check that page contains, and I can give anything. Okay, I can give this admin. So admin, if this contains admin, it means I'm able to log in successfully. And let's again do a quick update and retest, and test has been updated. It will take few seconds, and yes, your test will be ready. And yes, here we go. So you can see this is the page loading, then this is the second part. It clicked on login, then it is checking page contains admin, and yes, it executed successfully. And if I open this part, okay, let me open this once again. So this is the execution which is completed. If you open this, you will see step-by-step screenshot. And if it is a lengthy test case, this execution ID will show you step-by-step. Okay, now these are the steps. You can see enter into admin into username, password. You can see it has marks actually, and click on login and check. These are the steps. If you want to edit them on the fly, you can do that, and you can again do update and retest. Again, you can see the result, and these are the details that it is running on Ubuntu Chrome. And you also have something called video link. So this is loading part, then this is enter username, password, login, then check page contains admin, and yes, so it will show you step by step. If I click on this play icon, so you will see the video recording as well of the test that has been executed. So it loaded. Okay, it is taking some time. Now it will enter username, password. Yes, here we go. It will click on login, and finally it can see the dashboard. Perfect. So I will close this, and I will close this as well. But now let me show you one interesting point. Let's say your application, let's click on logout. Okay, so now suppose you have login button, and right now I can see login with all caps, and this login with first letter is capital. But suppose we have the exactly same login. In that case, how you will tell that click on the first login, click on the second login? In that case, it's very easy in testRigor. So if you just say click on login, it is clicking on the second login, right? But if you want the first login, what you can do, you can say click on the first login, just like a plain English. You don't need to remember anything. You can say click on the second login, click on the third login, and so on. And if you want to see here, just come here. Let's come back to first click. Okay, this is working with tables. Can you see this? Click on the third, click on the first, click on the third button 5 times, 3 times. You can exactly tell how many clicks you want. So exactly what I did, I said click on the first login. So even though it is matching with 2, okay, so this is because of AI, it is able to match login 2 times. So we are saying click on the first one, so it will work. Now let me quickly complete this with a logout scenario as well. So after login, you can see I have something called welcome Evo, right? This username might change. It might say welcome Mukesh, welcome testRigor, or anything like that, right? So this part is dynamic, but I just want to see whenever there's a welcome, click on it, and then finally click on logout. Very easy. I don't need to say anything. I will just say click on welcome. I'm not giving the second part, okay? I just saying welcome, then click on logout. That's all. And after that, I also want to verify whether logout is done successfully or not, right? So once logout is done, now I can verify again using different ways. I can say URL contains login. I can see the login panel is available. I can see login button is available or not, because if I come back to the login page, all these elements are available. Let me check this login panel. Okay, so maybe I will copy this. Again, I will use the same thing. Check that page contains. I will say check that page contains, in double quotes I will give login panel. So I have login, logout, and I have 2 validations. Okay, so this is all positive scenarios. So once this positive scenario will work, then I will show you a negative scenario as well. What if some assertion is getting failed? In that case, how testRigor will behave, and how you can see what went wrong with your application. Okay, again, it's running. It is in progress. Yes, it did this login part. Yes, it is available in the dashboard, and beautifully you can see it clicked on welcome, right? Then it will click on the logout as well. You can see it's highlighting. So logout is also done. After logout, it is able to reach to the login panel, and this is validation, right? So it is highlighting that we found the login panel. Perfect. So this is how you can write login logout step. You can see hardly it took few minutes for me, but if you go with any test automation tools where you need to write the code, it might take maybe half an hour for you to write basic login logout test cases that you have to identify the elements and then you have to perform. Here you just need to write in plain English and you can continue. Now let me edit this test case and let me just write something. Okay, maybe Mukesh. So I'm just writing a negative scenario. Obviously this page does not contain Mukesh, so obviously it should fail. So let's see how testRigor will notify us that your test case has been failed, what was the issue, and so on. So if you don't want to run this, you can say validate and save, but I want to click on update and retest so that I can show you how the test case will fail and how you will get to know. So click on update and retest. Again, it is in a queue. Okay, we'll wait for a few seconds. On the left hand side, you can see that one utility run in queue or in the progress, and this is how you can notice that how many tests are in the progress or in the queue. Okay, yes, it started executing one by one, and it's all real time. The moment it is doing activities, it is capturing and it is printing. It is showing the screenshots here. And yes, now if I show you the screenshots, Yeah, it clicked on welcome, then we got this option, it clicked on logout, and now basically it is waiting for Mukesh. Okay, so basically testRigor have its own timeouts, right? So it will not fail immediately, it is waiting for some time. After some time, if that Mukesh is not available, it is going to fail our test cases. So it's waiting actually, and yes, can you see this particular section which is completely in red? So this says this is the old screenshot, okay, as you can see, and it is saying this is the new one. So you can actually compare. In our case, I purposefully made the changes, right? So it is getting failed. But in case if your application have some real issues and if your validation is getting failed, you can actually compare that this was the last execution, this was the old, and this is the new one. In that case, you can easily rectify and you can raise a bug, and you can see this particular step has been failed. Similarly, if you see this execution ID, it will show you here as well. Okay, it's taking some time to load this. Yeah, so your steps, and finally this is the failure. Error says page does not contain Mukesh but supposed to. Perfect, right? Now the moment your test is getting failed, on the left hand side you can see the last run failed, and you can see it is showing one error. The moment you click on error, you can see this is the error, the page does not contain Mukesh but supposed to, severity is critical, occurrence 1, and test case affected 1. So this is a very interesting part here. It will actually show you, because of this change in your application or because of the latest changes, how many test cases are getting affected. Since we just started, so it says only one test affected, so we can go ahead and fix it. But in case, let's say this login is getting repeated in 15 test cases, in that case you can just say find and replace, and it will update all the test cases. So let's say now I want to fix it, I can say fix by find and replace. So this is says find and this is replace. So right now it is able to find this, and I want to say replace with this. So find Mukesh but replace this with a login panel. Again, if I click on find all, it says we found only one test case which has this changes required. I will say replace selected. It says one test case refactored. Perfect. Go back to your test cases, and you can see now still we have this, right? So now I can click on retest, and it will check whether the issue has been fixed or not. In our case, I made this mistake purposefully, and now I made the login panel, right, the original assertions, it will pass in this case. And our test executed. Yes, you can see it did login, it got the welcome, then it clicked on logout, and finally it is able to see login panel. And again, if you see, now that error has gone because now it has been fixed. It says nothing to show here. Let's celebrate. Now there are a couple of things that I want to highlight here. So right now if you see, I'm hard coding the test data, right? Is it a good practice? No. So in the upcoming lectures, I will show you how you can pass the test data. You don't have to hard code anything. On the left hand side, you can see test data, right? So we can pass the test data directly to our test cases. Second thing, if you notice here, this login and logout is very common and it is getting repeated in every test case, right? So do we need to write the same 3 lines every time I have to log in or log out? No. So I will also show you something called reusable rules. On the left hand side, you can see reusable rules, right? So with the help of rules, we can create rules and we can use these rules in all the test cases. So this reusability part, passing the test data, will come slowly once we move it. But as of now, I would highly recommend, please give a try with this so that you will get familiar with testRigor. And once you are comfortable, start automating your own application in this fashion. Everything which you don't understand here, you can see the documentation. All the commands are very easy and it's in plain English. Yeah, so that's all for this video, guys. You will find all these credentials in the description. You can copy paste and continue. So today in this video, we are going to discuss about the test data in testRigor. Okay, so in the previous lectures, so if you talk about the first test that we have written with testRigor, which is login to application. So if I quickly show you a test case, it is looking like this, right? where I'm passing my username into username field and I'm passing my password into the password field. Now when you work with test automation, passing the test data directly into your test case is not a good practice, right? You have to always parameterize. Why? Because let's assume you have multiple test cases. For example, you have 100 scenarios, or let's say 100 test cases. In all these 100 test cases, if you're passing some test data, let's say username, password itself, if your test data is hard coded in your test cases and if test data is getting changed, then you have to update all your test cases, right? So again, you have to spend a lot of time to update the test cases. So it's always good practice to parameterize your test data. It means you have to take this as a variable. You have to pass in your test case, so that in case any changes in the test data, instead of updating your test cases, you should directly update the variables. Okay, that's what we're going to do. So in our case right now, the test data that I want to parameterize is username, password. In case this credential might change, so I don't have to update my test cases, I will go ahead and update my test data. Okay, so that's very easy in testRigor. Basically, if you see on the left hand side, we have one option called test data, right? The moment you click on test data, you will see we have something called global variables. So let's create two variables, one for the username, one for the password, and then I will show you how you can use that variable in your test cases. So you can also search. Okay, the moment you have your variables, you can do this search as well. As of now, click on add. As you can see, we have different type of variables, right? You can see we have a text, we have a hidden, and we have file. So text is basically a text variable. So let's say if I create one variable called username, and the value which I want to add here is admin. This is our username, right? So depends on your test case, you can update the respective variable. As of now, for this example, I'm updating two variables. One is username, one is password. So this will be the name that we will refer, and this will be the value, and this is just a username, so I will keep it text. Click on add, and you will see this variable here. In case if you want to update a variable at later stage, you can update directly from here. As of now, I will not update. In case if you want this, if you don't want this variable, you can delete it basically from here. So the next thing that I want, again, I can add password as well, okay, in a text format, but let's add password as a hidden field or a hidden type. So this I will say password, and I will use the password that is required to log into this application. So I will update the password. Okay, so you can use your password, and I will click on add. Since it's hidden, you can see it's hidden, and same thing, you can update and you can delete. Next variable, which I will show you in the file uploading scenario, you can also create a file type variable. You can give a name, and you can select a file which you want to upload. As of now, in this scenario, we don't have any file uploader scenario, so this we will cover in the next videos. As of now, I have two variables. Let's go back to our test case, and now just go ahead and let's add this test case. Okay, so earlier we used to say enter admin into username, but now I don't want to pass this test data directly. I want to take from the variables that we have created, right? So instead of saying enter admin directly, what we can say enter stored value. You have to use this stored value. Now you have to pass the variable that we have created. In our case, we have created variable called username. Now don't get confused, guys, this is actually a field. So if I show you the application, then you will see this is actually our username field, this is our password field, and I have created the variable with the same name. So don't get confused, this is a variable and this is the actual field. Same thing I will do for the next step. I will say enter stored value, and I will be using the variable that we have created. In this example, the variable name itself is password. Okay, if you don't want to make it in a similar way, you can just type uname or pass or username or password. It's up to you. I have written same, and now I will click update and retest. So this time we are not hard coding, we are getting this actually from the variable. So in all the test cases, whenever you need username, password, in each and every test case, you can just say enter stored value. The stored value is important. Now let's click on update and retest. Now it will take few seconds, and you will see the test data will be taken from the test data section that we have created. Okay, so as you can see, now the test is running, and if I click on more details, this time can you see it actually took admin and it took password from our test data, and it is running. So it will complete login with logout, and it's done. Okay, test has been passed. Now let's do a negative scenario. In the negative scenario, what I will do, I will update my username to, let's say, Mukesh, and I will update this variable. So you can see stored value username was updated, and this time when I go and if I run my test case again, obviously this time it should fail because now we have an invalid username. So obviously our test will fail, and let's say what kind of reporting it will generate. So let's do the retest and let's wait for the execution. Okay, so as you can see, now we have more details. As you can see, this time it has taken the updated test data, which is Mukesh, and the password is the same. Okay, since now we have invalid credential, obviously test will fail, and it will show you what exactly happened with our test. Okay, and as you can see, now it is actually getting failed. Okay, so if you see, this time it is not able to log in. If you enlarge the screenshot, it says invalid credential, and if you see, it is also giving you this part, it says failed because the older screenshot was this, like after login it should bring like this, but this is the latest one. So this is how testRigor can help you, that what was the last result and what is the current result. So this is the old one and this is the new one. Okay, so now I will go back and I will update my username to the actual username, which is admin, and this time our test should pass. Okay, so that's how you can do this. Whenever you need any test data in your test cases, do not hard code, please use the test data and parameterize, because if you parameterize your test data, then test maintenance will be very less. You don't have to spend much time on updating all the test cases, and test data will keep on changing, guys. The moment you change the environment, or let's say the same environment is getting refreshed with the different data, test data will keep on changing. So never ever hard code the test data into your test cases. Since I have updated, now I can retest and it should run fine. Perfect, so this time it executed successfully. If I click on more details, it took the username, password, and it worked. Yeah, so click on more detail, and this time it took the username and password. Yeah. Today in this video, we are going to talk about a new concept of testRigor, which is called reusable rules. So in the previous lectures, we have seen what is test data, how to use it. Now let's understand what is reusable rules. So as you can see right now, we don't have any rules, right? So we can create a new rule and we can continue. So as you can see on the right hand side, we have type, name, labels, and steps. But before we create our own rule, let's understand what exactly rule is and why do we need it. To explain you this, why do we need rules, let me go back to one of the previous test cases that we have created. So as you can see, we have created login to application, right? So if I click on this and if I click on edit test case, as you can see, this particular test case has some login and logout, right? So we are just saying enter username, enter password, click on login, and we are verifying admin is present or not. In the same way, we are checking the logout. But if you notice, this login and logout is very basic activity, and this is required for each and every test, right? So obviously we can't write, or we can write, but again it does not make sense if we keep on repeating the same steps in each and every test case. So this is where exactly rule will help us. So whenever you have a sequence of steps that you want to reuse in multiple test cases or in several test cases again and again, you can create a rule and you can use this rule in the test cases. For example, these 4 steps will remain same for login, right? So instead of writing these 4 steps, I can create a rule called login, and whenever I have to login, I will just call that rule. In the same way, if I have to do logout, I need these 3 steps. So instead of writing these 3 steps again in each and every test case, I can create a rule and I can call that rule in all the test cases. It's going to be very super easy, and just you need to create a rule and use that rule in your test cases. So let me show you how you can do that. So let me show you first with one rule, and then I will create one more rule, and you will see that we can reuse that rule in each and every test case. So I will create a duplicate tab so that I can show you. So if you notice these 4 steps, okay, enter username, password, login, and verify the page contains admin. So I can copy these 4 steps, okay, because these are the steps that I need in each and every test case. So let me copy the 4 steps. Now you can create a rules directly here. It is just I duplicated a new tab so that I can show you. Click on this reusable rules. Now here you can see you can filter these rules by name if you have filters. Right now we don't have any rules, so it's completely blank. So let's click on new rule, and you can see now we have the type. Okay, here you can write the names, you can write the label, and you can write the steps. So these are the 4 steps that we have copied, right? So I have just pasted here, and now I will write this step is login. Okay, and I can also assign labels. So I will show you the advantages of defining labels. So if your test cases are using these rules, and if you assign some labels here, it will show you in your test cases. So let me create these labels and I will show you. For the timing, just write login here. So this is the rule name that I am writing. So whenever I have to log in, I will just call login and these 4 steps will get executed. Again, in these steps, we are taking data from the test data section. Now there's a very interesting feature which testRigor has provided. You can save this, or you can see one option called save, then find and replace step. What does it mean? That first of all, it will create a new rule for you, which you will see on the left hand side. Then it will check how many test cases you have where you have these 4 steps common. So what it will do, it will replace these steps with one single rule. Okay, so let me show you. The moment I click on save, then find and replace steps, it is checking how many tests I have where I have used these 4 steps. So as of now, we have only one test case and it is able to find. So the moment I say replace selected, you will notice it says one test case refactored, and you can see the rule has been created. If I go back to my test case, okay, and if you just click on this arrow, click on edit test case, and you can see initially we had 4 steps, now it has replaced with login. So every time I have to log in, I don't have to write 4 steps, I will say login and continue. Okay, you can write validate and save, or you can just retest if you want, but we did nothing. It is just we created a rule, we are using it, so it will not impact the execution. The second part, these 3 steps, right? These 3 steps are common for logout. So each and every test case needs logout. So again, I will copy this and I will go back. Let me create one more rule this time, and let's go back, reusable rules, and you can see we have one option, right? So click on new rule and I will say logout. Again, let's write the label. You can write any label. As of now, I'm writing the same label so that I can easily understand. And these steps which we copied, and again same thing, I will say save, then find and replace steps. The moment you execute this, again it found the same test. I will say replace selected, and one test case has been refactored. Perfect. So now if you just refresh, okay, and let's see. So basically the test that we have written earlier that was only contains login and logout, that we have replaced with reusable rules. So our test case will only include 2 rules, login and logout. Okay, here we go, it's loaded. Okay, yes. Now just click on this and click on edit test case, and here we go. So now as you can see, our test have only login logout. So the advantage is, let's say you have 100 test cases, 1000 test cases, and let's say some change in the login steps, or maybe the UI changes, so something happened in your application and you want to update. So you don't have to update all your test cases. You can update your rules, and that's all. So that's where a testRigor plays a very important role. It can reduce your maintenance cost. Okay, if you go to their official website, they have mentioned you can reduce your maintenance cost by 99%. Okay, so let's do one thing. Let's run this and see. Okay, as you can see, the test has been passed, and now this is the label part which I was talking about. So if I go back and if I see, I have used one label called login, and for logout we have used logout, right? So you will see the same labels here. So it will help you to understand that this test case is using these rules. I hope this rule part is clear. So basically in this rules, whatever steps you want to write, you can write, just like we have seen the previous one, right? So you can write your normal steps here, whatever your test demands, type, click, mouse over, or any other activities, and you can start using it in your test cases. Today in this video, we'll talk about how to upload a file in testRigor. Okay, so in the previous lectures, we have seen how to do a basic activity, type, click, and select values, right? So file uploading part is little tricky sometimes for the different automation tools, right? But with testRigor, it's very straightforward. So in this lecture, I will show you how to upload a file. So let's take example. So suppose you have a file uploader, something like this, okay, where you have to select a file and you have to click on upload. So the moment you upload any file, it will give you that file uploaded successfully, some messages. In case something went wrong, it will give you error messages. So how we can upload a file here, let's see. So for this, I'm going to create a new test case. You can modify the existing test case as well, but I'm going to create a new test case for this. And I will give this test case name is file upload. Okay, you can give any name. It is just basically this test is intentionally for file uploading. So I'm giving the file upload part. Now there's a small part that you need to keep in mind. So maybe I will first close this. Right now our test suite is focusing on this particular URL, right? But right now I have to use this particular URL. So the moment I start writing test cases, by default it will take this URL, but I want to make this particular URL, or I want to start my application with this. So what I can do, either I can go ahead and modify this URL, but it's going to affect all the test cases. So you have two options. Either you go ahead, create a new test suite for this, or you can use one more command called open URL. Okay, so if I show you this official documentation, testRigor official documentation, we also have one command called open URL. So whatever URL you will pass here, it will start that particular URL, and then you can continue. So your test will start actually with this URL first, which is orange HRM, which I will show you now. So the first step, it will launch this particular URL. Then using this open URL, we will load this application and we will continue, right? So you have two options. Go ahead with any of this. I will go with this open URL so that we can cover one more command, right? So let's go ahead and create a new test case. Again, I will give the same thing, file upload. And now let me open this particular URL, and the command that I'm going to use is open URL. Okay, so I will write open URL, and again I will pass the URL in double quotes. One thing that you need to keep in mind, that whatever application you are passing, right, that should be whitelisted. If that is not whitelisted, again testRigor will not be able to open that particular URL. Okay, so if you see this part, it says the domain must be whitelisted. Okay, now let's continue. Now if you talk about this file, right now if I have to select any file, I will click on choose file and have to select which file I want to upload, right? Now in order to do something like this, we have to create one test data. Okay, so in the previous lectures we have already seen, right, how to create a test data. So what I will do, I will show you how to create test data. So basically, instead of storing value, we will be storing our file in the test data section. Okay, so in the test data, you have an option where you can create test data in a file format, and you can upload any file. That file you can pass in your test. So if I click on the test data again, in the previous lectures we have created two variables, right, username and password. So this time I will create one more variable. So if I click on add, it will ask which type of variable you want to create. So we have seen this part, right, text and hidden. This time we are going to select a file, and you can give any variable name. Make sure whatever variable name you are giving here, same we have to use in our test case. So I will use let's say this is a profile pic. You can give any variable name, it is just for your reference. You can give a sample or any other name. Then I have to select which file you want to upload. So I will click on select file, and I will pick any random file which I want to upload. So let me take this PNG file, which is one webinar which is at my desktop, and let me click on add. Now as usual, we will type enter stored values. So we have seen in the previous videos, right, how to get the values from the stored variables. So we will use stored values. So I will say enter stored values. Now we have to give the exact variable name that we have created. So we have created this profile pic, right? So I'm going to copy this and I will use the same here into. Then if you just see, if you just right click on this particular part, if you inspect this, so basically it's the input tag, right? And you can see ID equal to file upload. So I'm going to use the same. I will take this ID again. I will type into input file and I will give this file upload. Okay, so I will repeat this again. Enter what we need to enter. This is the enter stored value profile pic. So it was going to take the path into input file and this is the ID file upload. Then we have to click on upload, right? So once you upload the file, so if I show you this part, let me select a file, then I have to click on upload, and once I will upload, if everything works fine, we will get one message called file uploaded. So this is what we will do. We will just say click on upload. So click on upload. Okay, yeah. So this is the button, right? Upload. Click on upload. After uploading, what text we got? So if I click on upload again, if everything works fine, we will be getting this text called file uploaded, right? So we'll quickly verify this because we need to also do the verification. In case something went wrong, our test case should fail. So I'm going to quickly verify this text called file uploaded. And we have seen the page level validation, right? So I will say check that page contains, and this is the text which I'm expecting. Okay, if you just say file uploaded, that is also fine. So the main part is this part, okay, the second line. So first we are opening that application, then we are getting that file from that variable into this particular input file, then we are clicking on upload, then we are checking this should be file uploaded. So let's click on add and run. It will take few seconds and our test should get executed. Okay, perfect. So as you can see, the test executed, and if I show the screenshots, let me click on this and let me enlarge this as well. So this was the base URL. Okay, so that's the reason it is opening orange HRM. And if you follow the next test cases, sorry, next screenshots, yeah. So this is where it started. So it loaded that particular URL, then it has uploaded that webinar.png, then it is clicking on this upload, right? And after upload, it is able to verify file uploaded. So you can see this green symbol, it means the validation was correct and everything is working fine, right? Now if you want to see that what if I don't pass any file, right? In that case, let me just remove this part. Okay, maybe I will save it somewhere, and this time I'm opening that particular application. I'm not uploading any file. Then I will click on upload. Obviously now it will give me some different message, right, that I have to validate, but still I will check without uploading any file. If I click on upload, will I get this message? Let's see. So again I will say update and retest, and our test executed. So this is the base URL. Now if I show you from here, it started with this. This time we have not selected any file, and if we click on upload, we are getting this internal server error. Okay, and good part about testRigor is it is actually showing you that this was the old one. Okay, before running this test case, this was the actual execution, and this time since we have removed that particular statement, we are getting internal server error. So this is how testRigor can help you, that what went wrong while executing this time. This time again, if I go back and if I upload that particular statement, update and retest should work. Okay, as you can see, the test has been executed successfully and we are getting success. Okay, so just a quick recap. In order to upload any file in your test case using testRigor, first you have to create a test data. You can create a variable and the type, you can select a file, upload any file that you want to upload in your test cases. Go back to your test cases, and if you face any issue, you can refer their documentation. It's very easy. So you can see they have a dedicated section called uploading file, and exactly what I have mentioned you will find here. So once your file has been uploaded in the variable part, come back to your test cases, use enter, stored value, whatever values you have, whatever variable name you have used, then into input file, and where exactly you want to upload a file, click on upload and you can verify. So in this video we are going to talk about one very interesting end-to-end scenario using testRigor. Okay, so let me tell you what exactly we are going to cover in this scenario. You will get a clear picture, and throughout the video we will be discussing two different topics. One is generating test data dynamically and storing into variable, and we will also deal with the web tables. Okay, so web tables looks very tricky sometimes, but with testRigor it's very straightforward. So let me show you what exactly we are trying to achieve in this scenario, and then we will do it using testRigor. So let me log into this application first of all. So I hope you have the login ID and password. If not, I will give you the credentials in the description. So what exactly our test will do, like after login, we will verify whether we are able to create users, search user, and delete user or not. Okay, so for example, if I log in now, if I go to admin and if I click on add, so before adding you can see we have bunch of users, right? So let's say the functionality which I want to automate is login as an admin, create one user. After creating, make sure that is available here, or you can search that user. After that, we will delete that user and we will do the logout. So basically it's an end-to-end scenario. Now the moment you create users, right, so you have to give the username. For example, if I create a user, you can see I have multiple users, right, and some are very random test data. So if I just hard code the test data, let's say Mukesh, next time if I run this test, obviously it will fail because the user is already available. So I need dynamic data after every iteration, right? After every test I need a new test data. So that is our first requirement, that I will not hard code the test data. Second thing is, you can see, right, we have this table. Now I need to search that user, and for that particular user I have to select a checkbox and delete it. Okay, so this is as usual, we'll fill this form, but after filling we need to work with this table. Okay, so if I go back again, you will get that table. This application is little slow today. Okay, so yeah, you can see this table, right? So we don't know at which particular place that username will come, so we need to see this dynamically. So that also I will show you. So watch the video till then, you will get to know so many things from testRigor. And as we know, without any coding, you just need to write plain English and you can automate this complete scenario. So let's go back, let's do the logout first. So this is the official documentation of testRigor, and if you just search for one keyword called generate, okay, so just search for generate and you will find this command, okay, generate. Now as the name suggests, it will generate one test data for you. It depends on what kind of data you need. Do you need email, do you need numbers, do you need just a random string? So depends on your requirement, you can generate the test data. So as you can see the example, generate a unique name. You need to write generate unique name, then enter into this field and save this as a variable. So this is exactly what we will do, but I will make a small twist here, that I will generate a unique name, okay, then I will save into a variable. That variable I will use throughout my test. So let's go back and let's create a new test. So in the previous videos we have seen, right, how to log into application, how to log out, and we have also done file upload scenario. So this time I'm going to create a new test, and let me give this as end-to-end test, and now I can start writing. So now you can generate the test data and store into a variable. So what I will do, I will write same thing, generate a unique name and save as, in double quotes I need to give that variable. Okay, let me give that variable is new user. So make sure you use exactly same. Let's generate unique name and save as new user. Now I can continue. So I can now log in and continue. Now guys, if you remember, in my previous videos we have created something called reusable rules, right? So if I show you that reusable rules as well, because that is the main part, right? We can reuse the number of tests or the test steps that we have written. So login and logout is something that we want every time. So in the last lecture we have generated one reusable rule. So let me show you that, because this time I will use that. So if I go back to my reusable rules, okay, this is the one we have used, right? Login. So I will be using this login. Now after login, okay, let me log in this. That reusable rule that we have seen, right, that will perform these steps and it will make sure that we are able to log in successfully or not. And inside this reusable rule, we are taking data from test data. Okay, so if I show you that test data as well, we have stored our username and password here. So in case if you are new to this video, I would highly recommend you to watch that video as well. So this particular step will do the login, right? After that, I need to click on admin. Maybe I will keep it in a separate window. Yeah, let's do it. I will say click. Where I need to click on this admin tab, right? So I will say in double quotes admin. The moment I click on admin, now you will see I have a different UI, right? Now I can verify whether I'm on the right page or not. So what I can do, I can verify if that page contains add button, delete button, or search button, or reset button. It means we are landing on the right page. So immediately I will check that page contains add. Okay, everything that I'm writing is available on the documentation site. So let's say if you want to see, just do the search. Yeah, so if you see this command called check, right? So check page contains this, check page does not contains this. You can use that. So you can do the checking based on the page label, element label. So I'm checking this page should contain add. And now let me click on this add. Okay, so I will say click add. The moment I click on add, now again I need to make sure that I'm landing on the right page, right? So now again I can do multiple stuff. I can verify this buttons, I can verify this text, I can verify the URL. Let me check this part. Okay, this text. If this page contains user role, it means we are on the right page. So again I will say check that page contains I will just do the copy. So I will just copy this user role. And guys, let me know if you need this test cases. I will give you in the description or the first comment of this video. You can simply copy paste and give a try. Now if you want to select admin, you can do that. So if you want to select admin, because by default it is ESS, right? But let's say I want to select admin. So let's also see how we can select the value from drop down. So selecting value from drop down is very straightforward. Okay, what you need to do, you just need to say select which value you want to select and which field. So I can simply say select, okay, what I want to select, admin, because ESS is already selected, right? From, what is the field name? My field name is user role. So just say from, again in double quotes I can give user role. Now that's the interesting part. Okay, now I need to select an employee name, right? So if I just type one employee called Evo, okay, Evo, I'm not able to pronounce it. So let's say I want to select this user. So I have to type this again. So again I will say type this username and it should be under employee name, right? So I can write type this employee name, and in which field? The field name is employee name. It's very basic. Now type click. Okay, so all the fields that you can see, it's type. Now here comes the very interesting part. I need to enter the username, And this time I don't want to enter username hard coded, right? Now I don't want to write Mukesh or some random user because that will be duplicate next time. So I will take the username which we have stored here. So basically when you execute a test, it will generate a unique name and it will save into this variable. So let's say it will create a user called ABC or XYZ. So the same user I will be using here. So I will say now type what we want to type. I want to type this value. So whenever you have to take the data from the stored values, what you can do, just say type stored value. Now you have to give the variable name. Okay, what is the variable name? This variable name. Then it will be replaced. Okay, so suppose if it is a ABC, then it will replace and it will say type ABC, but where exactly? In which field? Field name is username. That's all you need to do. Now quickly I can type password and confirm password in these fields. So let me just write a random password. So I will say type abcd@1234 in which field? Field name is password, and let me just copy because this is reconfirm password, right? So I will just use type abcd1234 in confirm password. Now again I want to highlight one more command called wait, because the moment you type employee name, right, it takes some time to select the value. So after this employee name, maybe I can give a wait for 2 seconds. So there's another command called wait, and now I can give wait 2 seconds. So it will wait 2 seconds, then it will continue. And in this application, what happens, the moment you enter password and confirm password, it takes some time to enable this button. So after entering the confirm password, again I will wait for, let's say, 2 seconds or 3 seconds. So wait 3 seconds, and finally I need to click on save. So I will say click which button? Save button. So let's do it. For example, if I say testRigor 111, this is the same username and password. Okay, and let me click on save. Okay, it says you have to give a tough password. Let me use combination. Okay, yeah, the moment I click on save, you will see this user will be saved and it should display the same user in our table. Okay, there's application issue, I guess. Yeah, okay, it says some, okay, there's some application issue, guys. So it says successfully saved, but there is showing some error message. Let me go back and check. See, this is a sample application which is deployed, okay, for the practice. So you might encounter this issue. For the time being, please ignore. So, but when you start working with your application, you might not get this issue. But in case if you get, your test should fail. Now this is the user that we created right now, right? Now I need to verify whether this particular user is available in the table or not. Now how we can do that, that we need to see. But before that, let's see, are we able to search or not? So let's type here whatever user we have created. So again, the user which we have created is this user, right? New user. So after clicking on save, again I will say type stored value. Which value? New user. In which field? Okay, we need to enter in this field, right? Username. So let's say it will type this one, testRigor 111. Now I need to click on search. So no issue. Let's say click in double quotes search. Let's click on search. Okay, and it is listed. Now I need to verify whether this user exists or not. Now how we can do that? This is exactly what we have done, right? We'll make sure this part, check that page contains. check that page contains this user. Okay, so again I will say stored value this. So whenever you have to take data from variable, you have to use stored value and the variable name. So if that variable that we have used, if that exists, that testRigor 123 or 111, it will be successful. Now here's an interesting point. Now I need to click on this checkbox and I need to delete. Now how I can say in testRigor that go ahead and click on the checkbox and click on delete. So if you work with the tables, if you just see and see the documentation, you can define actually whether your element is available on the left or on the right. Now search for table and you can see we have multiple examples. So in case if you have again full, I will say very structured table, and if you want to iterate, if you want to do some activities, you can go ahead. There are a bunch of examples and they're very good. Now for this example, I want to show you a very small trick. So I can say that click on the checkbox which is to the left of this username. But what is this username? This username is the user that we have created, right? So now in this case, what I can say click left or click checkbox which is left to this testRigor 123, but this is stored value. So what I will do, I will simply say that click. Now where exactly you need to click checkbox which is to the left of testRigor 123, but that I am taking from variable. So I will say stored value new user. After that I can simply click on delete. So I will say click delete. After that I need to make sure that it has been deleted. So for example, if I delete this, okay, again the moment I delete, I will get this confirmation box. Again I have to click on OK. So I will say click OK. So the moment I click on OK, this particular record should get deleted. And again I need to verify that it should not be present, right? Because that is what our new assertion. So instead of giving page contains, I can say page does not contain. Okay, just opposite. So after deleting, we want to make sure that particular user that we created does not exist. And after that, we can just do the logout. Now again, if you want to just log out, just click on welcome and click on logout. But again, if I'm not wrong, we have already created a reusable action for this as well, right? So I can call this. So again, I can go ahead and just call logout. Okay, let's see how it works. In case if this doesn't work, we'll identify what is the root cause and we'll fix this. So click on add and run. And yeah, this will take few seconds. Click on this arrow and now let's wait for the execution. Okay, so as you can see now test has been failed, no problem. Let's identify. And the moment I open this and if I click on the screenshot, this is exactly what we did manually also, right? So one thing that you will notice that it created a username that's very unique. Okay, only thing is it is giving that password is not unique, or I will say it's weak. So we need to give some different password. So again, I will click on edit test case, and instead of giving abcd@1234, let's say something called Jenkins@1234, and again same thing, Jenkins@1234, and again I will say update and retest. If you just say validate and save, it will just validate and save, but if you say update and retest, it will execute the same test again. So again, let's wait. Okay, so as you can see, test failed again. If I just go back, and if I'm not wrong, we got the same issue that we got earlier that has related to the password, if I'm not wrong. So if I just see this screenshot, okay, just hold on. It says very weak. It says password must contain a lowercase, later uppercase, later a digit and a special character. I guess we have done that already. Maybe I have to give again a very different password this time. So Jenkins, we have done that. Okay, let's say underscore 1 2 3 4 7 8. And let me just do the same thing here. This time update and retest. Okay, so it failed again, and let's see what is the real issue. So one thing that you can see, it says can't find button element by description. Okay, so no problem, click on more details. It says failed, show error info. Again, we are not getting much information that what exactly went wrong. So whenever you get this kind of issue, again, always open the screenshot, because here you will get to know what is happening. And now we got the exact issue. So if I show you this, just a second, if I show you application, the moment I type, let's say if I type Mukesh underscore 50, okay, so this username is available here and this username is available here as well, right? What we are saying, if I, sorry, let's delete, okay, let's close this as well so that we don't have much windows. Yeah, so this screenshot, so what is happening, it is trying to click on a checkbox which is left to the usernames. It found two username, one is here and one is here. So by default it is trying to click on the first checkbox, which is obviously not available, but it found the username. So it says I found the first username and I tried to click on the left checkbox which is not available, and here it is failing, right? So we need to tell testRigor that hey, find to the second username, which is this, and then you will find a checkbox. Make sense, right? Because this is exactly twice is available, and by default it is trying to check for the checkbox which is left to the username which is not available here, which is causing the issue. So you can quickly edit the test case, come back, and instead of saying left of username, you can say second. Okay, so you can give in this fashion, like first, second, third, and so on. So by default it is click on the first, but the moment you add second, it says click checkbox to the left of second username which will get generated, and this time you should not get issue. Let's rerun and let's see the output. And here we go. So as you can see, the test has been completed successfully. You can see the successful result finished. Now if I show you the screenshots, okay, you will see, you can see the video as well, but yeah, this will be little fast. So it started with your welcome window, then okay, then it did the login, click on admin, click on add, then it did all these entries, right? You can see it found the user role, it changed from ESS to admin, it entered username, and this is the random username that is getting generated, right? Enable password, clicked on save, perfect. Then in the next screen, okay, this is yeah, this is the username, and in the next step it is trying to search. Yes, it did the search. And if I show you the next part, just a second, this is not clicking. Yeah, so this time what is happening, it clicked on the second checkbox, like checkbox which is next to the second username, clicked on delete, and as usual it will click on OK button and continue with the logout. Okay, just a second, this screenshot loading is little slow. Okay, if we go parallelly, you can see we got this confirmation window, right? And finally it did the logout, and this is the logout screen. It clicked on first welcome, clicked on logout, and this is the logout and we are verifying whether this login panel is available or not. So you can see how easy it is in testRigor, that in case something is getting, something is not working or something that you need to fix, you don't need to write any single line of code. It just, you need to remember the commands. So in case you get this kind of issues which you are not able to fix, check out the documentation. They have mentioned everything, but screenshot give you more information. So sometimes, like in the previous example, that error message was not enough, right? But the moment you saw the screenshot, it was more clear that it is trying to click or trying to find elements somewhere else. Yeah, so that's all for this video. In case if you want this test case, I will give you in the first comment of this video. You can directly copy. Only that one thing that you need to create from your side, that you need to create reusable. Okay, I have created two reusables, which is login and logout. So if you want this values, you can watch out my previous video that I will also give you in the description, so that you will get more clarity. Yeah. So guys, today we are going to talk about something very interesting called cross-browser testing in testRigor. So far we have seen how to write test cases, right? We have seen how to see the reports, how to create reusable rules, and we have seen how to pass the test data as well, right? Now we'll talk about how you can run the same test in different browsers. So if you can see so far that we have written multiple tests, but these tests are running on one browser. So if I want to run the same test in different browsers and using different platform, how we can do that? So first of all, you can see if I come back to my settings, you will see a different options here. So we have general and we have authentication, proxies, right? Retesting, error reporting. Now if you see this part, which is multiple browsers, here you need to define which browsers you want. So if you talk about right now, they have different operating system. Okay, so right now it is running by default on Ubuntu Chrome, but let's say you want to run on Ubuntu Firefox. If you click on add browser, so all your tests by default will run on now two browsers, one on Ubuntu with Firefox and Ubuntu with Chrome. Now suppose you want with Windows. So again, for Windows they have multiple options. You can run on Chrome, Edge, IE and Firefox. So let's say I want to run Chrome Windows. Again, I will click on add browser, and now let's say again I want to run on OS X, so which is Mac OS, and again I have multiple options. So I can click on, let's say I want to run on Safari. So you can see right now I have Windows. Okay, let me remove this Ubuntu Firefox, OS X, Safari. So finally Ubuntu, Windows, OS X, and you can see browser Chrome and Safari. Now the moment I click on save, the default test, all the tests will be running on these three different browsers. You don't need to write even a single line of code. It's just a configuration change that you need to make, and you will be able to run your test cases in different browsers. So just a small disclaimer that I want to add here, that testRigor have multiple pricing, right? So these options will change depends on which pricing you have. If you are on the free plan or as a community, you might not see the options, but the moment you go to the different pricing, you will see the different OS in the browser combination. Right now I have a professional plan, so all these options are enabled for me. Now just click on save, and now the test has been like application updated, which is nothing but your settings. Now go back to your test cases and you can run the test, and it will run automatically in all different browsers. Now let me show you how it works. So let's say this is the end-to-end test that we have written in the last video, right? So this test is all about where you will be let me show you actually, so that you will have a better picture. Let me click on edit test case, and you'll see this is like end-to-end test that we have written last time, where we are taking dynamic data also. So we are generating a unique name, and then we are storing into a variable. So this is the same test, which is end-to-end test case that we are going to run. Okay, so let me click on validate and save. So finally we have not done any changes, but still I clicked on validate and save. Now if I just simply click on it, and if I run on retest, and you will see the test will start. As you can see, scenario scheduled for retest, and you can see the moment I click on this execution ID. Okay, let's open this in a new tab, and automatically you will see the execution which is running on different browser and OS combination. So can you see it's running, and it's rendering one by one. So good part here is when it comes to different automation tools that we use, right? We need to write some custom logic, we need to change couple of settings, but with testRigor it's just a matter of settings. Go to multiple browsers and mention which browsers you want to run, and you can see the real-time execution, it's happening. Okay, and parallelly it is happening, it's not sequentially. So when it comes to test automation, right, we can define you want to run cross browser with sequential execution and cross browser with parallel. So here by default it is running cross browser, cross platform, but parallel. And you can see the couple of details that it ran on Ubuntu Chrome, Windows Chrome, OS X Safari, and this is the time. It took 36 seconds in this combination, 41 seconds and 39 seconds. And if you want to see the videos as well, so first of all on the left hand side you will see what steps it has executed, right? And this is the final login, create user, search user, update user, delete user, and finally log out. And yes, all done successfully. And if you want to see the videos as well, the moment you click on this play part, you will see the execution, how it is happening on Chrome with Ubuntu. So this is the execution. Okay, it will be same for all the OS. So you can watch this recording. In case there are some failures, you can easily identify what went wrong. So screenshot plus videos will help you to identify if there are some compatibility issues with your application. You will understand easily. Right now with this application, everything is working as expected and we are not getting any failure. Okay, so if I go back, you can see the status, plus you can see the labels as well. It executed on Ubuntu Chrome, Windows Chrome, and OS X Safari. And if I show my previous test cases, okay, if I click on this, so when you don't have different combinations, so it will run on the default settings that you have, which is Ubuntu Chrome. Okay, so that's a quick video about cross-browser testing with testRigor. So I hope you like this video. So in case if you want to perform the same thing, just go to settings, go to multiple browser, add the different browser combination, and you will be able to run. Yeah, today we are going to introduce another automation tool, and it is totally new and works on a totally different, all concepts totally different, not based on what traditional automation tools that you have seen in the market. And we have direct, I will say CEO, co-founder of this tool. So let me introduce testRigor, and we'll have a lot of discussion about testRigor today, what this tools offer and what are the features that you will be getting, and what are the different comparison that you have in the mind. We will take that also. So the first initial few minutes we will talk about the tools and the features, and the remaining part we will have a Q&A session. So whatever questions you have in the mind, please note it down. We will be answering them one by one, and in case if we miss any query, we will be taking that queries in the next videos, or I will make a dedicated video on this. I already made a couple of videos on this tool, but we'll have direct discussion now. So the tool that we are going to discuss today is testRigor. So we have CEO and co-founder of testRigor with us today, Artem. So hi Artem, I would like to welcome you on the screen.
Hello everyone, thank you for having me today.
Yeah, thank you Artem for joining. I know it's a little early morning for you, and but thank you so much for joining the session.
Yeah, absolutely. This is not my first meeting already, so we usually start very early.
Okay, great.
All right. So let me just jump into that and share my screen. Hopefully my screen is visible.
Yes, it's visible.
I'll start presenting.
So we have Koni, Akshay with us. Yeah. Yes. Sorry, Artem, you can continue.
Yes. So basically, what we'll be doing today is we will be talking about the easiest way to learn test automation. And we will be speaking specifically about web and mobile automation. We will not cover API, IoT devices, cars, and so on and so forth. And one of the point I will be making several times, I guess, during this presentation is that as an automation journey, like there are certain things that are shared in this journey, and that is the automation concepts. So there are certain the basic concepts of automation that you can learn with one tool, but once you know the concepts and understand how does it work, those exact same concepts will apply to any tool you will use in the future. So it doesn't matter what tool you will be using, the concept will be the same. And there is a gigantic opportunity. Today in 2022, 70% of all test cases are executed manually, and that is confirmed over and over and over and over again. You can ask your peers, you'll get exactly the same results. And basically, it is actually a problem for companies because we are losing $1.7 trillion in losses due to bugs in software. So everybody does want to automate. It just usually it is very, very hard. Okay, so you might ask, we've already have Selenium, what's the problem? And the problem is you can't just write 1,000 tests. But just there are a couple of issues specifically that would make it very challenging. I'll get to that in a second. And because companies can't automate it, well, there is a lot of manual testing, therefore you can't retest everything, and therefore bugs are getting into production. Imagine that, like, think about it. Let's say a manual testing process takes 2 weeks, which is kind of pretty average from what we have seen across the companies. And you have found a bug close to the end of those 2 weeks. So in theory, what should happen is that engineers should fix the bug, and then the process should restart again. That means that it's no longer 2 weeks, it should be more. But of course, people oftentimes don't do it like this. And because people don't retest everything yet again, it means that there are bugs which are leaked to production. That's basically the largest challenge with manual testing, and this is why companies want you to automate tests. And trust me, there's a lot and a lot. It's ongoing work, and even if you will automate everything in your company, there'll still always be new functionality unless the project is completely dead. And there are challenges with Selenium and Appium automation because on average 5% of all tests are always break. So that means two things. People need to constantly update their tests, and those tests can't be used in CI/CD. They're also slow to create, and there's a slew of other issues. So let me show you other ways how you can do it. Like we developed a tool called testRigor. And what testRigor is, it is an executable specification where you write in plain English what needs to be done and what needs to be validated, and testRigor executes it, emulating how a human would have done it. So there's a huge difference between testRigor as a tool and literally anything else in the market is that testRigor does it exactly the way a human would do it by reading and executing the same instructions.
Great.
And like there are a couple of differences between Selenium example on the left here and testRigor on the right. As you can see, in testRigor case, it's so plain English, very readable, easy to understand what's going on. You can show it to your product manager and get a feedback if that is what was expected. And on the left, you have to be an engineer to be that, and compares just a sheer number of lines of code. And most importantly, the largest difference is that in code on the left, there is a lot of reliance on details of implementation.
Correct.
So what code on the left does, it hooks up into how this page was coded at that particular moment. In this example, there are IDs, names, and XPath reliance. So and what's happening is that then people write this Selenium code. It codes based on how page was coded at the moment. So as soon as page changes ever so slightly, test breaks, even though from end user's perspective, everything is exactly the same. So this is exactly the problem testRigor solves. It allows you to specify everything from end user's perspective. And basically, what it means is the following. It's a pretty large challenge. This is the reason why at around 350 tests per person, it's a full-time job to just maintain the testing. And this is probably not what would you want to do if you were to do coding. You don't want to maintain the test all the time. It would be much more fun to build new tests. And because testRigor does not rely on details of implementation, therefore it doesn't incur that much maintenance. It's almost linear. Well, nothing is linear, but it's 200 times less time spent on maintenance for our customers. So therefore, you can continue to build tests and actually automate away 100%. Anyway, so let me talk a little bit more about the concepts of automation and how easy it is to just try them out and practice that with testRigor. So what would you usually do to learn automation? And I'm talking about test automation, of course. So you would be forced to learn a programming language. That would be considered step number one, which is a gigantic effort. It's very, very hard. I remember when I was learning my first programming language, it was mind-bogglingly hard. And then, unfortunately, nobody talks about concepts of automation when you learn some framework like Selenium and stuff like that. But like people kind of just talk about features instead of talking about concepts. So what end up happening is that you're learning those concepts, but we're learning it on the job, which is probably not a good way to do that. You want to impress your managers instead of making them like facepalm and say, you're not doing things right. So next, like it's very slow to build tests. As I mentioned, there's just a lot of code. If you remember, just there's a lot of coding, and then you'll spend time on maintenance, and it will be a pretty huge part of the job. So we believe that a new, more efficient way to do that is actually switch it around and do it other way around. And I believe that would be a path going forward for people. Like I believe in like by 2030, everybody will be doing it like this. And that is you learn the concepts of automations first. So you understand how does it work, what the principles are behind automations. You can learn best practices first. So you coming with a clear mind of how it should be done. And then you can just start building tests without programming. And this is all those low code, no code, codeless concept coming in. You will be able to build exactly same test, just order of magnitude faster. There is almost no time spent on maintenance, and we will be you'll be able to basically speed it up by almost copy pasting in some cases your test cases, and because it's in testRigor case, it's in English, it will be very easy to collaborate with the product managers and business analysts to make sure that whatever you're building as a test is exactly what we have expected, because there's sometimes it could be miscommunication here and there, and this is what will allow to do that. And let me go through and quickly walk you through the basics of concepts of test automation to show you it's pretty much straightforward, and you learn it right away. And we will share the recording, I believe, after this meeting, and I will be happy to share the slides as well. Okay. All right, so what are key properties of an automated test? And those are the differences between the test case, how you would execute it manually, and this case, then it is automated. Because we as a human tend to sometimes automatically, almost unconsciously do certain things without thinking. Whereas when you're doing automation, you need to be very explicit, and you need to explicitly understand certain things in order to actually make it work. And number one by far is repeatability. Meaning, because sometimes when test cases are written, we've written in a way that if you try to do it like literally verbatim as a robot, it's just not going to work, because you kind of understand that even though it's written a certain way, you actually have to do it different way. For example, for a sign-up test, you might be it might be written in a way saying, "Hey, enter like email@email.com and proceed with test," and so on and so forth. However, in reality, you know that you can't use the same email for sign up. You need to always come up with a new one. So that's just one of the examples. But in general, repeatability means if you created a test and it runs on the current execution, if you run it second time without the application changing, then it still should run. There shouldn't be a situation where it doesn't run because, hey, like emailer is already used up. So repeatability means it must be able to rerun multiple times, because it will be reused multiple times. It's the whole point of automation. So repeatability is pretty much important, and there are several concepts which basically enables that to happen. Okay, so oftentimes it's achieved with using unique data generation and use of variables. So variables the concept is very similar to what you might have had at school with, in algebra, if you remember variables and all this kind of stuff. It's very same stuff. You can think of it as you can kind of name of the variable, it would be a label on a box, and content of the variable will be whatever is in the box. And the test data generation, self-explanatory. There is also data-driven testing concept, where you actually, in a lot of cases, might reuse the same test, but the data you might want to use for that test is different. So probably have some kind of a data set, one way or another. It could be currently in Excel spreadsheet or something like that. But point being is you might want in certain cases to run the same test in different sets of data. And ideally, your test is written in such a way it's just one test. You just plugging in that different sets of data, and it's running it multiple times for each set of data, each row. Okay, so not only that, but usually there are also best practices when you're creating code. This is what is usually expected from automation engineers. And again, like knowing, well, this is not, of course, a comprehensive list. It wouldn't be possible to do a comprehensive list on this call, and This is why you're subscribed to channels like Mukesh's channel. He walked you through a lot of those, and it just takes
Thank you,
time to learn
Adam.
all of it. But like this is kind of the very basic first ones, and this is what kind of bare minimum that your management would expect from you. Then you will be building tests. So again, so this is best practices. Of course, meaning, what does it mean? How is it different from concepts? Concepts is that things without which you just can't even build tests, whereas best practices meaning that what people would expect such that it would be working better. You could write tests kind of breaking all the best practices, but then like you will come up, there will be different issues here and there. It will result in different issues. That's why people came up with best practices. And betas test usually should end with validation at the end, because think about it, if your test ended up with clicking somewhere, you actually do not know if the last click succeeded or not.
Correct.
So this is why people usually add the validation at the end to validating, hey, so I clicked on something, but did this click actually work? So this is where people usually do the validation. Then the test should be stable enough to be used in CI/CD. This is like the whole point. Usually people are building automation is that it can be run in CI/CD, meaning that you can retest everything and it will get you correct results. If test succeeds, there is no issues. Test fails, there is an issue. And the test should be easy to understand. The easier, the better. Because think about it. Trust me, several months after you wrote the test, you can get back to it and you completely forget why did you do it? What did you do? What is this about? Believe me, like this is how it works. Like literally all the time. Like, and that's you. Imagine someone else is trying to understand your test, or you're trying to understand someone else's test. So you'll just save yourself such an unimaginable amount of time if you make the test easier to understand. So much so that I believe it's probably one of the key most important concepts in automation, because it's just might take most of the time to just figure out what's going on. It's very important to keep everything as easy to understand as possible, like all the time. And next is, well, self-explanatory. Test requires as little maintenance as possible, because of course you're saving yourself a time again. And next is very important, is a little bit more interesting. The test is independent and can run in parallel with other tests. This one is a little bit tricky because there is kind of you have to come up with a compromise and involve common sense depending on the application you're testing, because in theory, so what you could do, you can generate all the data you would need for your test at the beginning of your test, and then your test will be 100% completely independent. However, one might not necessarily be practical way to do that, because just generating all that data might take a lot of time. So you might want to find the fine balance between using existing data, which is already there, and generating a new data in such a way that your test is completely independent and can run in parallel with other tests. And being able to run in parallel is crucially important, because after, let's say, even 100 probably tests, you want to run tests in parallel in order to save the time. You don't want tests to run for days. You want to run for like minutes or maybe hours. And that's only possible when you run them all in parallel. So therefore, we should be created this way. And
Correct.
of course, credentials should be stored separately from the tests. There are two reasons for that, actually. Number one is, of course, security, right? So you won't share the credentials with everyone, and everybody can look at it, and maybe some hackers hacked into the system, they will be able to immediately see everything. So so if you store them in different place where it is encrypted, or at least hidden, then it makes it harder for hackers to do it. This is one. And second, if you store your credentials in the other place, it's probably just one place. It means that it's easier to update, because your security would require you to change credentials from time to time, and it would be very annoying to just go for all the tests and update it, rather than just update it in just one place. So those are like very, very, very basics. Best practices is definitely not a comprehensive list, or is far more than that, but this is kind of basic expectations from good test. And of course, think about it. If you're learning automation and learning how to deal with stuff, you're learning for the future, right? So
Correct.
you're learning that so that in like 2 years, 5 years, 10 years from now, you'll be applying the skills you learned today. And that in particular means that you need to get familiar with new technologies. AI is becoming more and more widely spread used. And it used for a lot of different things, like test generation, element detection, or test writing assistance, adaptation of the test to new stuff, automatic issue detection, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of different use cases. And I can show you, we have a couple of minutes before questions.
Yeah.
I can show you a couple of things. So this is how the interface looks for testRigor. This is how the test looks. It's very, very simple. There's commands for clicks. This is entering the data. And of course, you can generate data and enter. And you can group your commands and give it arbitrary names to those functions. So that is yet another best practice. You want to keep the same code in the functions, so you don't copy paste. You have it in all one place. And this is just very simple. All you do is it's the same commands, but you assign a name to this sequence of steps, and then you use it as a name. All right. So and great news. If you go to testRigor.com, if you click on sign up, there is testRigor has free version. There is a free trial and the free version. So you need to you have to understand the differences between those two. Those are very important. You would use a free trial, then you are validating stuff which are confidential. For example, you are doing a trial for your company and you don't want anyone else to see your like test environment and stuff like that. You would go for free trial. However, for personal use, you'll actually benefit from using a free version, because it's not just a free version, it's an open source version, and you will be able to share the results of your work. You'll be able to like just send a link with your test to your manager or someone else, because all tests are public, open source, and you can literally go, this is public tests in the footer. You can open it up and see what other people were doing, and they were sharing all of this with others intentionally.
Okay.
So for And this version is forever free, open source. You can play with it as much as you want. It had been designed for people to learn test automation and be able to play with it for free as much as we need.
Okay, great.
On that, I think, Mukesh, I will pass it back to you and we can jump to questions.
Sure. Okay. So just a second, let me see whether, yeah. So guys, I hope you have got some idea about the testRigor. So if you're complete new to testRigor, then let me just give you, those who are joining this session first time, it's AI powered automation tool where you don't have to write any single line of code. You can just start writing your plain English and your tests will start getting automated. Okay, so you can start automating your web application even if you don't have any idea about any programming language. So they have keywords, okay, they have commands, so you can use this as a plain English and your tests will get automated on the fly. So it runs on cross browser, cross platform, and we have done a couple of videos on this where we discuss the different features and how you can use the test data, how you can use the reusable rules, okay, and how you can run the test cases on CI/CD pipeline. So few videos are already in pipeline, but few videos is already available and you can start using from day one. Okay, it's as Artem mentioned, it has multiple plans, but one plan which is completely free, you can directly start even after the session. So I will give you the link in the description and in the first comment. You can go ahead and explore this. Anyways, we are here to support you guys. So Artem is here for us for next 30 more minutes. So you can ask any query that you have. I will be taking these questions in the chat and we can discuss this. So yeah, Sanjay also joined. Hi, Sanjay. Andra, I have one question. How about Tosca automation testing? Okay. See, we are not going to compare all the tools. Okay. The unique point about this tool is, again, just plain English. How you write your manual test cases, right? You can write your test cases and testRigor will run this without any delay. Okay, the moment you write your English test cases, just execute and it will run on the fly. There are a lot of tools in the market that you can compare, but it's not something which is, I will say, compare like how Artem has showed, right? Selenium with uh testRigor. In the same way, you can take any tool and compare. It works in a totally different, I will say, in a model. It just takes English text and you can start writing your test. Okay, so there's one question from Wasim Sultana. It says, I have been using both Test Studio and testRigor. I see one issue when I record steps in Test Studio and click on Execute testRigor button. It doesn't seem to be working for me. Sultana, I also tried, but I did not face this issue. But Artem, do you have any, guesses or any thoughts on this? Did you come across this issue?
Oh, so for if you recording steps in Test Case Studio, I think this is what you're referring to, then you would need to first create an account on testRigor to be able to execute those tests. So the test won't execute unless you have registered for testRigor.
Yeah. So Sultana, just check once whether you have actually logged into your account or not, because if you don't have account, if you directly do that, right, you will come across some issues. So in case if you have any issues, something like this, you can share with us. We also have Sanjay also in this live session. So I will pass on this message to Sanjay as well. And we'll see if we can help in this way. Now, Artem, one question from Naveen Automation Labs. When we can expect smooth integration with Test Case Studio? I see duplicate steps sometime.
Well, on that, It's more a question to Sanjay, I guess. And and we are working together with Sanjay on improving the integration. So stay tuned for more improvements soon.
Okay. So Sanjay, we will be expecting this. So let me see if I can reproduce this where we can have duplicate steps. So maybe we can fix it. Sojanya says, will it replace Selenium-like tools in the future? So Sojanya, we just took this as part of the demo, that if you just have to verify whether you're able to log in or not, you will be writing minimum 20 lines of code. But here you just need to write 2 steps, that too in plain English, so you can understand how much time it is able to save. Plus, when it comes to the maintenance part, where the testRigor is leading the market, because here, even if something is changing right in the DOM, you will be updating your test cases again. You will be pushing the code again. The complete CI/CD pipeline will run, right? But here, you don't have to worry about if some locators are getting changed at the DOM level, because here it works on a totally different model. So when it comes to the maintenance, it saves a lot of time. So we don't have to compare actually with Selenium, because here we have to choose one programming language, then one framework, and then we write. But here we just write in plain English. So now if you ask me, will it replace Selenium? Yeah, that little tricky question to say, but yes, it is saving like 99%, right, of the maintenance cost. It's saving a lot of time. So Artem has published a couple of use cases, stories where their clients are able to save most of their time and the maintenance cost.
So let me actually answer that question.
Yeah.
So and for that, people who are familiar with programming, they probably use SQL. Some people call it SQL.
Correct.
SQL is one of the examples of a low code which replaced gigantic amount of code interacting directly with the database. Why? It's just because it is simpler and it makes much more sense to use simplified language, and everybody is using that simplified language even in any other code. So I believe in general it happened over and over and over again. This is why people don't write their code in assembly language anymore, even though it was the only and by far the most popular language at the beginning. This is why you don't write automation in C language or C++, and so on and so forth. So basically, new technologies gradually replace the old ones. If the new technology is order of magnitude easier to use and just saves you time at the minimum. And we believe that therefore no-code, low-code tools will just replace old ways, and in certain amount of time, up to a point where nobody at all will be using Selenium, literally, eventually. However, people will just come to senses and eventually will start replacing their Selenium code with no-code, low-code even, and we have a lot of examples doing that with our customers. Some companies come to us, we have 100% test coverage with Selenium, and they replace it with no-code, low-code tool just for the point of reducing their test maintenance effort. So instead of spending insurmountable amount of time maintaining their tests, now we can actually focus on building new tests and spend their resources elsewhere. So it definitely the way how it would be in the future for sure.
Thank you, Artem, for your answer. So indirectly, also Artem has covered this part, that in case if you want to migrate, not only from Selenium or let's say from any automation framework, you want to migrate to testRigor, it will not take much time, because here it's already covered everything, right? You don't have to even install any ID on the system. It's browser based, right? You just create your account, Once you have your account, whether it's a free or I will say enterprise one, everything is available for you as a service. You just start writing, create reusable rules, keep your test data right into the variables. And as I said, it has integration with a lot of services. So even if you want to integrate test cases with CI/CD pipeline or Lambda test, Browserstack, SourceLab, everything is already available. You don't need to spend much time on the coding part. Instead, you focus on the functional part, which is the main part, or which is our main job, right? We need to make sure everything should be working as expected. So instead of focusing on the code part or the integration issues, focus more on the functionality. So Vale Kumar says, any language required? No, Vale, there's no language required. That is the main point here, right? You just need to understand English. You write your plain test cases in English and you can start automating. So even, after the session, try one test case. Within 2 minutes, you can write your first test case and you can start running on the different browsers and the different platform. Depends on which plan you have. One question from Lakshmi Kant Boya. Hi Mukesh, is it similar to Test Case Studio? Not exactly. Actually, Lakshmi Kant, you can integrate Test Case Studio with testRigor, right? Artem, if I'm not wrong.
Correct. So in Test Case Studio, you record steps for either manual test case or but mostly manual test cases. However, you can use literally exactly same language to execute those on testRigor. So there is an integration between Test Case Studio and testRigor, where you can record steps in Test Case Studio, but then you can execute those exact steps in testRigor. But keep in mind, remember, there is a difference between steps, how you might record it for manual tests and actually automated tests. Remember, like repeatability, you might add validation at the end, and so on and so forth.
Correct. So, Lakshmikant, right, Test Case Studio, testRigor provides multiple things which help you to reduce the maintenance cost. Okay, so what Artem wants to say that in case if you have, you want to scale it up, you can use few more features of testRigor and build a more robust test. Okay, so Devraj says testRigor is only for web automation. No, Devraj, you can also do the API and you can also do the mobile testing using testRigor.
Yep, a lot of stuff, API, mobile, email. You can test downloaded files, upload files. You can test text messages, phone calls. You can do two-factor authentication. You can log in into Gmail to test that your login with Gmail functionality work, and so on and so forth. A lot of different features.
Yes. So Devraj, I hope you got the answer. It also have like visual testing support using Apply tool, right? So there's a lot of features which testRigor provides.
Yes.
So please check out the resources. If you want the link, I can give you right away in the chat section. You can go ahead and explore. So one question, Atom, which is very common, which I got in the previous live also. Any plans for desktop application automation? Because one question from Nitin, is testRigor also for desktop application?
That is coming up very soon. So it's literally, in theory, you could use the same English language to describe the same steps
Okay.
for desktop, and this is exactly what's coming up within the next several months.
Okay. That will be game changer item because I've seen a lot of people are struggling because they have, complete end-to-end things, but still they're missing from desktop part, like few applications, right, which doesn't work on the browser part. So some part that is still doing manually. So again, 100% automation is not covered because that part is still missing. So if it will come soon, it will be a game changing for automation. So expecting soon this feature.
Thank you. And we are working on it right now.
Okay, great. Thanks, Adam. So Nitin, I hope you got your answer. Kalpesh Prajapati says where we can get the details of this tool. Is it live or under development? No, Kalpesh, it's live. We have a lot of resources. Let me share all these details right away. And I will be sharing. Yeah. Thanks. So Nitin, I hope you got your answer. Okay, so one question from Ashish: is there any certification in this so that after that we can get job opportunities? See, Artem, there are a lot of people in the market, right? They are looking for a job change. They need to add this as a skill set. So the question which Ashish is asking is there any certification in this which they can showcase something?
We have developed a certification internally. We are working right now on setting up actual automated certified test.
Okay,
So people can take it online themselves. It's just taking a little bit of time to polish, debug it, and make sure it works great. But once we release it, it will be free certification, which you can share, and that would enable us to actually help you to find jobs with your profile with certification, as well as we will be able to share those profiles of people who passed certification with our customers.
okay, great. So we'll be waiting for this. Vele Kumar says, can I use this tool for bot applications like RPA?
Yes, the missing piece is that the desktop automation part to
Yeah,
make it full RPA. But if you not discounting the desktop part, then in a sense it is RPA already. There's very little difference between test automation tool and RPA tools. It's basically the same technology, just used for different purposes.
correct. Okay. So Kalpesh says, can you please give us details about this tool so that we can explore us if we are interested? So Kalpesh, I will be linking my playlist, okay, and a couple of other resources from different channels. So Naveen Automation Labs also have a series on this, and the resources part, which is available on testRigor, is very self-explanatory since it is all based on English, right? So you don't need any technical documentation. Just we have English text. They have different categories. So let's say if you want to do API testing, database, email validation. So category wise, they have the resources. I will give the link after the session. You can go ahead and explore. Very easy, and you can start even after this session. Okay, let me see if any question which is not answered. Manoj says, will companies preferred for this tool is as it is paid, and we already have as free tool, and most of the Selenium frameworks is already there.
That is incorrect assumption. So Selenium is order of magnitude more expensive than testRigor. So not only in testRigor, you do not pay for the tool. testRigor is free. It's the same free as Selenium. You're paying for infrastructure to run it, as the same way as you would pay for infrastructure to run Selenium. However, Selenium is far more expensive because it takes order of magnitude, 2 orders of magnitude, basically, more time to develop Selenium tests. And your time and times of the automation engineers is far more expensive than any server time to execute those tests. So therefore, it makes Selenium just very expensive tool.
Okay. Manoj, I hope the got the point. So basically, you will be writing, but you need infrastructure again, right? So definitely, you need either AWS, GCP, or any cloud where you will be running your test, right? So again, when it comes to the cost part, as Artem mentioned, you are paying extra money because here you are saving a lot of time. You don't have to invest time in building the frameworks, right? You will be spending very, I will say minimum, I will say 0 point something in the maintenance part. So that free versus paid part is little subjective. So Artem already cleared this, that it is, when if you see in a long run, it is more expensive. So Manoj says, what are the limitations of this tool? Does it support all the browsers? So yes, Manoj, as far as I know, it supports Chrome, Firefox, Edge, and Safari, right?
Correct. For that, you can go to settings.
Yeah.
And multiple browsers, and you can just add additional browsers as needed.
Yeah, great. So you can see, Manoj, it supports all the major browsers. What about Artem, like Brave browsers, Opera browsers, or some additional browser with keys coming, right? Chromium-based browser.
Yes, those are supported through integrations with our partners such as Browserstack, Lambda Test, Source Labs, and so on.
So Manoj, in this case, whenever you have additional, let's say you want to work on a specific browser version, a specific OS versions, okay, then you can integrate testRigor with the different platforms like Source Lab, Browserstack, as Artem mentioned, and you can execute your test. Okay. So Kalpesh is impressed by this tool. Kalpesh have one more question. In this tool, if you want to run our test cases parallelly on Android and iOS, is this possible using this tool?
Yes, it is definitely.
Yeah. So Kalpesh, here you can do that. Okay. So whether your application is mobile browser based or the app based, yes, it works on Android and iOS. And parallel part is literally very easy. You don't, like if you talk about other automation tools, right? You need configurations, you need code. Here you don't need, you just have to enable one thing and you can start running a test in parallel.
So if you're already using a tool and you're looking for a way to run exactly the same code for both iOS and Android applications, it is done via a so-called shared suite, right?
Correct.
So you'll most probably will have three test suites, one for Android, one for iOS, and one for shared code, because there are still some differences between Android and iOS
UI.
tests based on how just Android and iOS themselves work, right? However, you can have majority of shared code in a shared test suite, and then just inherit those test cases in both Android and iOS test suites, and run it this way.
So Kalpesh, I hope you got the answer. So as you can see, there are a lot of things which is available with a smooth integration, and with a minimal effort, you can write test test cases for mobile as well. Okay. So please go ahead and try after this session. And if you come across any issues, let us know. Shiva says, can we do parallel testing multiple browsers at the same time? Yes, Shiva, just now we discussed this, that it is possible. And I already have recorded a video on this where you can do the parallel testing in testing using different browsers. So one guy, Maximus Studio, I want your real name. The question is testRigor is going to acquire manual tester skill in the market over Selenium? So what's your take on this, Artem? It is, I'm not going to say it's going to take, it's helping actually manual testers to write the test cases, right? So it's not going to acquire, but it's going to add a lot of values for the manual testers.
Yes, so as a manual tester, you will be able to learn and practice automation concepts, which you then can apply into using either testRigor or Selenium or anything like that, as I was mentioning. It doesn't matter what tool you use later down the road, the concepts are the same. So what testRigor will allow you to do is you'll be able to play and understand automation concepts before you learn programming language. So which will make it as much easier to do so, and will actually help you to learn your programming language easier, because you'll know what to focus on and just to learn the bare minimum basics from programming language in order to be able to achieve those things which you need to get those concepts working. So basically, it's just a free way of practicing certain concepts. It will help you to learn automation.
Yeah. So, Mayur, I hope you got the point, right? And as we started this session, right, we focused on the same part, that the older way of automation and the new way of automation. You need to understand the automation concepts, right? Once you understand the concept, irrespective which tools you're using, that will always remain same, right? So testRigor will help you to understand the automation concept instead of just struggling through the DOM structures, changing with the different elements, different kind of tags that we have. Here you will focus more on the automation concepts, best practices, so that you can achieve maximum ROI through your automations test. Okay, so again, one more question. Can we do 100% test automation using this tool? SPSSK Gamer. Please let me know your real name so that we can address in a better way. But yeah, any take on this?
The answer is it depends. So currently, testRigor had not yet released the desktop testing part, but if you do not need desktop testing, then yes, you can actually achieve 100% test coverage and pretty quickly. We have a lot of customers that it just takes months to, in even some cases weeks, to cover 100% of our test cases with automation. Keep in mind, because that's partially because testRigor makes it easier and possible to automate away certain things that sometimes people consider not automatable, such as the testing emails for your sign up, two-factor authentications with text messages or Google Authenticator or anything like that. Because you can easily do it with testRigor, it makes it actually possible to automate.
Okay. Yeah, so I hope you got the point, right? So depends if your test does not include the desktop part, right, which is not yet released. If that part is not covered, then yes, it's possible. So try this and let us know if you come across any test cases which you're not able to automate. We can help you out. So Kalpesh, how we are maintaining the locator part? So Kalpesh, here we are not even writing the locators, okay? We are actually writing the test, like click on this button, okay? Click on login. So we are not focusing on the DOM part here. If the text is getting changed, here also we have some smart way to handle it. So here we are not focusing on the DOM structure. Here, how we write your manual test cases, right? Type in this, click on this. This is how we are going to write the test cases. So let me share you my playlist so that you will get one idea. Just after this live session, just try this and you'll get how exactly testRigor is working. Okay, the different browsers, different OS, and so on. Okay, one interesting question item. Delin says, how can we execute Android and iOS test cases in parallel if only one file can be uploaded at a time, either iOS or .apk?
Yes, for that, I can share the screen. So basically, imagine that you have both Android and iOS test suites. You can create a third test suite, which would be a shared test suite. Then you can go to, let's say, iOS one, and you go to shared suite, and you select the parent suite in here, and you can select what you are inheriting. You click save, and it will include all shared test cases. And then you can just trigger, and you can trigger either manually in here. You can rerun, or you can upload a new version and rerun, or you can trigger from your CI/CD, such as Jenkins or Circle CI or anything. You can trigger test execution. You can trigger both Android and immediately iOS, and they will run at the same time. And we can, using this shared test suite concept, we can reuse the same tests for both Android and iOS.
So Dylan, I hope you got the answer. Manoj, is there any plan of master classes session for this tool so that we can attend it? So Manoj, I have given you the playlist, which is ongoing playlist. So you can check out the playlist. Many more videos coming soon.
Yeah, I apologize. I would have to drop off to another meeting. It was a huge pleasure, Mukesh, to present on your webinar here. Thank you for inviting.
Yeah,
and
thank you so much.
We'll be happy to address all of the questions offline. Don't be afraid to connect with me on LinkedIn.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Adam. It was nice. Like we got the answers directly from the CEO itself. So thank you so much for your time, and we'll connect again with some more questions. And by the time, hope we'll get few more features from testRigor, so that we'll have more questions and more scenarios based, questions.
Thank you.
Thank you, Adam. I'll see you soon.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, guys. So Artem had some work, so he left the session. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the session. We discussed a lot of things about testRigor. Those who have not explored the testRigor tool, I would highly recommend you to at least explore what testRigor provides, so that in future, if you come across any situation where you need to work on such tools, plus testRigor provides a lot of things which makes test automation very easy. So let me share the playlist once again and the official documentation, so that you can explore so many things from your side as well. So very good comment by Keshva Reddy. Hi Mukesh sir, I learned automation testing from your channel in 2017. It was helpful for me. Now working at top product-based company in Bangalore. Thanks a lot. Keep up for the good work. Thank you so much, Keshva. And it has been 5 years. You are still with us. Thank you so much for being with us from a long time. Since you are in Bangalore, let's catch up sometime, and let's see if we can, have a quick kind of interview experience with you. Like, how did you switch, and what kind of issues you faced, and how's the life after the automation part? Okay. So thank you so much, Keshwa, once again. I will connect with you soon. So let me just take one screenshot. Guys, in this video, we are going to talk about a very interesting topic, that how we can run your automated test in mobile web browser. In the previous lectures of testRigor, we have seen how you can run your test cases in desktop browsers like Firefox, Chrome, Safari, and so on, right? But in this video, we'll talk about how to run on mobile web browsers. Now, why do we need it? Because this is part of the requirement. Many companies, they want to run their test, or they want to make sure their application is working with the different browsers on the mobile. Okay. If you are using iOS, then it could be Safari. If you're using Android, then Chrome and other browsers. Now, how we can make sure that our test is working fine on the mobile devices as well? This is what exactly we are going to do. So in the previous one, we have seen that how we can run on Mac devices, Windows and Linux, right? Now let's talk about how to run on the mobile. Now before we start, I want to show you the application that we want to automate. Now again, it's totally up to you, right? Which application you want to automate, it's exactly same. So if you talk about this orange HRM, right? So if I show you this, if you open in this manner, right? It's a complete desktop version, but it's a responsive web application. When I say responsive, the moment I change the resolution, okay, you can see it's changing its UI, it's changing its layout. So even if I change like this, you will get a scroll bar and you can do that, right? So if I scroll like this, it's responsive, so it's changing its layout. There are few applications that which are not responsive. In that case, you will not be able to see this kind of changing layout. This is one way which I did manually, right? But if you want to check how it will display in different devices, in Chrome browser, we have a very interesting feature. If you click on inspect and if you open this, you can see this option, right? This is toggle device toolbar. The moment you open this, it will show you, you can select, okay, which kind of device you want to see. Let's say I want to see how this application will look like in maybe iPhone SE. This is how the layout will be, okay? What if I want to change to iPhone 12 Pro? Okay, this is how it will look like. What about iPad Air? This is how it will look in iPad Air. And if you want to check in Android devices, this is the list of options we have, okay? So let's say S8 Plus. Now one thing that you will notice, it is changing the width and height, okay? If some devices are not listed, if you want to check, you can change it. Let's say I want to change it to, okay, edit. If you want to add a custom device, you can see there's a list of custom devices that you can add. Right now it's not added. Maybe I will add Note 3, Note 2, S3, S8, S9 Plus, okay? And now come back here. You can see all these three has been added, okay? Apart from that, if you want to add any custom device, you can add the name here. Let's say I want to write iPhone 13 and I can change it, okay? Let's keep it 450. I'm giving some random width. I'm not sure about the width and height in iPhone 13. I'm giving a random numbers. Maybe this is 800. Apply and it should be added. Can you see this iPhone 13? And this is how it will look like. So basically you can change this if something is not listed. Now this is all local, but how it will happen in testRigor. So first of all, let me close this and let me come back. Let me bring this to the original state. Yeah. And I will keep it here in this tab. Now we will be creating a new test suite for this. So I will write this as mobile web browser. Now till now we have selected desktop web testing. Now I will say mobile web testing, okay? We want to test the web application in mobile devices. Click on it. Now it will ask you which URL you want to test, okay? In our case, it's Orange HRM. Guys, take any application that you want to automate. I'm just taking one example. Now we don't have obviously username password, okay? If you want, you can do that. But I will be writing test case for this. Now this is the main part, guys, provider. Right now, I'm using testRigor as a provider. It means whatever devices I will be using, it is coming from testRigor side. Okay, so testRigor is maintaining all these devices, and the moment you run this test cases, it will run on the testRigor infrastructure. And if you want to select Browserstack, obviously you need to provide couple of details: Browserstack, Source Lab, Lambda Test, whatever provider you want to use. If you need video, I will be coming with this video soon, where instead of using testRigor as a provider, you can use any provider and you can run your test in their environment. Okay, as of now, the top three, okay, Browserstack, Lambda Test, Source Lab, and Cobiton is here. We'll go with testRigor. Now, which OS? Android and iOS both are supported. So let me just select Android. And if you talk about devices, these are the devices right now they're maintaining, which is Nexus, Pixel XL, Nexus S, Galaxy S20, and so on. Maybe let's say I want to go with Samsung Galaxy S20, and these are the Android versions they have maintained, right? Android 8, 11, 11 here, 11, 64-bit. Let me go with Android 11, Galaxy S20. Now in in Android, they're maintaining one browser called Chrome. This is the default one, right? And I don't want to generate based on the auto discovery, so I will keep it 0. In case if you have advanced settings, you can see list of advanced settings. Right now we don't need it. I just want to write my test cases, which should run on Android 11, devices S20, browser would be Chrome. But in case if you want to go with iOS, you can see right now they just have one device, iPhone XR. Again, if you want to run on the different devices and browsers, you have this option where you can choose which provider you want, and you can give any browser and device combinations. And this is our next video. So as of now, we will be using Android, and let me use S20, Chrome browser. This is 0. Let me create a test suite. Now this suite is ready. As you can see, no test created for this suite. Obviously we have not created any test cases as of now. We just created a test suite and with the configuration. Now let's create a new custom test case, and here you can write your test case. And if you're completely new to testRigor, then I would highly recommend check out my series where we discussed how to write the basic custom steps, how to write the test cases in testRigor, how to execute on the different browsers. We also discussed about reusable rules, test data, and so on. So a couple of things has been already discussed. Now, if you are new to this, I would highly recommend you to check the documentation. It's very straightforward and very easy. So they haven't given all the things that you can use, basic commands like how to perform, click, how to perform type, how to perform, keyboard events, how to do copy paste, how to check whether things are appearing on the page or not. And I will show you that as well. So if you see this for type, we can just go and say type. And if you want to try this, enter, you can go ahead and use enter. So let me use this. So as you can see, they have given some sample as well. Let me write enter. See, I need to enter username and password. So this is my username, this is my password. But where exactly I need to enter, I can give this label. Okay, very straightforward. How we do manual testing, right? How we see as on a screen, in exactly same way you need to use. You no need to go with ID, name, class name, XPath CSS selectors. Just give the field name. So this is exactly what I will do. I will say type admin. Make sure you give this in double quotes in, and if you want to see the documentation part, this is the documentation into. So into where it should be inside username. That's all. It will go ahead and type admin into username. Same thing I will do for password. Enter admin 123. This is the password. In your case, if it is different, please go ahead and use a different password. Now this is the password field, so I will just go ahead and type password. Now I need to perform click, and I want to click on login. Very straightforward. Just say click and say login. That's all. Let's try running this. The moment I say add and run, you can see your test has been executed. It's getting executed and estimated time. So it is in the queue right now. If you click on it, it will show you what is the current status. Now when you work with mobile devices, obviously it takes time because it has to set up the simulator or the real devices, then it will start executing your test, right? So you can expect some delay when you work with mobile devices because of the configuration part. You will see all the steps here, or if you just open this execution, you can see first of all the steps that we have written, and can you see it has masked our password. It clicked on login, and you can see all the details here. That the platform that we're using is testRigor. We are using Android 11 and we are using Chrome. Let's wait for the execution and then we can verify. So in the meanwhile, let me talk about few things. Right now, whatever test we have written, if I show you my test case, it's very straightforward that enter this, click on this. But where is the verification point? We have not added the verification that if login is done successfully, make sure this is appearing. maybe the logout button is present, or the admin tab is present, or the add button is present. Because until you don't add the validation point, it will not make any sense. See, even if this login is getting failed, your test case will show pass. So it is important for us to add the validation point. Okay, now you can see the test is getting executed. We are able to see all the screenshots, perfect. And once it is done, you will get the status as pass. And you can see this is the first screenshot. If you scroll down, you will see another screenshot. So it has entered admin, it has entered password, and it clicked on login. You can see this square box, it means it is highlighting. And this is the screen after login. So it's showing us, but we have not added any verification point. So let's do that. So click on edit test case. Now I need to verify. So I will show you the moment I log into this application. Now, one thing that you have to notice when you log in on the browser device, okay, when I say browser locally on my desktop, this is how the UI is looking. I can see on the different section, admin, PIM, leave, I can see add button, reset search, and I can get this option. But the moment you open this in mobile, it will be coming like this, right? So you have to put validation according to this, okay? You have to put validation, like it should have the add button or the PIM or maybe employee list or this icon and maybe this logout. So put the validation point according to how browser will display on the mobile devices, right? Why I'm showing you this? Because you might put assertion that this admin should be displayed, right? But in device, it is looking in a total different way. So if I show you again, I will be adding one validation point that after login, I should be able to get the add button. Now coming back to our test case, come here. Now again, how to put validation? Don't worry, come back to this validation section and we can see the check that element have this color, input have this value and so on. But let me show you that if you want to check the page contains this or not, or page contains this button. So for UI validation, for each and everything they have given example. That's a very beautiful part. So if I check this option, okay, this is one way to check that search contains this. And if I show you one easy way, I can see this one, contains, does not contain. So let's open this. This is also same. I want to see the page level validation. So that is what exactly I'm looking for. So maybe I will check if the page contains, yeah, this one. Check that page contains sign in. This is what I need. So I will copy this and I will say check that page contains. I will check for add button. Okay. Add. If contains add, it means we are able to log in. Now I'm not adding the logout step that I will give you as part of your assignment. What you need to do, just follow these 4 steps. You will be able to log in. After that, you have to click on this. Okay. So in your device, it would look something like this. You have to click on this icon and you have to click on logout. And after logout, you also have to check the login should be present. So basically you have to add 3 custom steps. Click on the icon, click on the logout and verify this login is coming or not. Okay, that is part of your assignment. So let me run this and see whether we are able to verify this add button is present or not. Let me click on update and restart. It says test case has been updated and it is in a queue for retesting. So let's wait. If you want to see the execution, you can click here and you can see the live execution here as well. Same thing, it will show you that we are using testRigor provider, Android 11, Chrome, and within few seconds your test will be ready. Okay, let's wait. Now on the fly, if you want to add something, you can change these names. Okay, if you want to attach some labels, you can attach the labels as well. We have seen labels in the previous videos. So in case you're new to this channel and the series, I would recommend you to watch the complete series. Okay, just a second. Let me refresh and see how many steps has been executed. It's still executing, no problem. For mobile, it's sometimes slow. As I mentioned, it takes time to set up the browsers on the device. First, it has to set up the device, then the browsers. It takes time. And here we go. So it has executed and it is able to verify that add button is present or not. So can you see this green icon? So it has highlighted that whatever validation point we have added, it is able to perform successfully. So this is all from my side. So I hope you got the overall picture. So let me quickly summarize. Using testRigor, you can run your test cases on different browsers and different platforms. So whether you have Windows, Mac, Linux, you can execute all the test cases that we have seen earlier. In this video, we discussed how you can run your test cases in mobile browser in Android and in iOS. So this example which I showed you for Android, for iOS also, you just need to select the value from the dropdown and you can continue. One thing that I want to again highlight, first check whether your application is mobile responsive or not, right? Because if your application is responsive, then it will change the layout. So you need to write your test cases accordingly. In this video, I will be talking about how you can use testRigor with Browserstack. Okay, now what exactly is Browserstack we'll see in a while, and we'll see how to configure your testRigor test with Browserstack and other cloud platform as well. Okay, but before we move ahead, I want to quickly highlight that if you're completely new to testRigor and if you don't know anything about testRigor, that what is testRigor, how it works, how it is different from different tools, then I have a dedicated playlist on this. And I would highly recommend you to check out this playlist because we have discussed many topics in detail. In the last lecture, I discussed about how you can execute your test on the mobile devices. Okay, but again, when it comes to this, we have a limited devices, we have limited options. So in this video, I will talk about how you can run your testRigor test on different device combinations and different browser and platform combination. So in order to continue, I will be using one of the platform called Browserstack. So Browserstack is one of the cloud platform which will give you varieties of OS and devices combination which you can use for your testing. And I will be integrating our test with the Browserstack so that whatever combination you will select, it will be running on the Browserstack and you will get the results back. For example, I will be creating one test suite and I will be creating one test. That test I want to run on Windows, I want to run on Mac. But again, on Windows, I want to run Windows 11, 10, 8, 8.1. I want to run on Firefox, Chrome, Edge browser. Similarly, I want to run my test on Mac in the different Mac versions, Safari, Firefox, Chrome, and so on. So you have a huge combination where you want to run your test. You want to make sure that your test is running on the different browsers and the different devices as well. So this is exactly what we will be doing in this video. So first of all, you need to create a test suite in testRigor. Okay, so I have multiple test suites and I have also shown you how you can go ahead with the testRigor in my previous videos. I will give all the links in the description so you don't have to worry about it. After this video, check the description. You will get the application URL, the playlist, and for integration also what are the steps needed. So in order to continue, I can use existing test suites or I can create a new test suite and I can create new test cases and I will be running on Browserstack. For example, I want to create a new test suite. So I will just say Browserstack test, or maybe I will change test on Browserstack. That will be adding more value. Now again, you have to decide what kind of testing you want to perform. Do you want to perform desktop web testing, mobile web testing, or native and hybrid mobile? In this video, we are going to talk about desktop web testing. Then it will ask a URL to run test on. Okay, so for which application you want to run your test. I'm going to use this application, but doesn't matter. You can use any application that you want to automate because the integration part will remain same. So don't worry about the application part. For the timing, I will take this URL and now you can see it is asking username, password not required at this moment. And you can see here we have multiple OS. Okay, so we have Ubuntu, Windows, OS X. In your case, depends on what plan you have. you will be getting the different OS. Right now I have all the 3 options enabled for me, so I can continue with whatever OS I want to continue. But again, it will take the latest version, right? So let's say Ubuntu, or let's talk about Windows 11, 10, 8.1, 8, 7, or maybe XP. If I want to do that right now, that is not available. So if you have the subscription of Browserstack, you have varieties, right? So what we will do, we will not use this as of now. Okay, what I will do, I will select this Ubuntu or browser, whatever, and I will make this as 0. Keep these options, then I will show you how to integrate. So as of now, whatever OS and the browser is selected, keep that default. And if you click on the advanced settings, you will find more options here. You can see this integration, right? And in the integration part, you can see here we have multiple options. You can do the recording, Jira, Azure DevOps, Test, Value, TestRail, but again, Browserstack is not available. How we can do that? So first of all, I will not go with the advanced settings, just create a test suite. Yeah, it will take hardly few seconds and your test suite will be ready. First thing that you need to do in order to integrate testRigor with Browserstack, you need to log into your account. So right now I'm on my free plan on the Browserstack, so I have the limited minutes which I can use. So in your case also, in order to continue, just create an account on Browserstack. You will be getting a credentials, log in with that credential, that's all. And you will see this option called go to dashboard. Go to this dashboard and it will be navigating to dashboard V2. And again, they have an integration guide. Okay, they will give you some quick guide how you can navigate and all. Right now on the left hand side, what you see, you are seeing, ignore this for the time being. Later on, once we execute our test, I will show you how you can access them. So step number 1, log into your account, go to the dashboard. You will find something called access key and the username. So this will be unique for different users. So in my account, it is my username and my access key. In your case, it will be different. So if you have a business plan, so multiple people will be sharing a account, or I will say username and access key. So go ahead with that. So I will copy this one by one. So once you get username and access key, third step will be you need to go to the settings part. In the settings, you will get multiple settings, but as of now, main thing I need to see is the integration part. Okay. So right now, if you come down further, you will see something called enable Browserstack. See, this is just one of the service, but if you have, let's say, Lambda test, Sauce Lab, same thing is available. If you want to integrate it with Lambda test or Sauce Lab, same thing. In this example, I'm going to use Browserstack. So guys, let me know if you need a dedicated video on Lambda test and Sauce Lab. I can make video for that as well. So I will just copy this username and I will paste here, and same thing I will do for the access key. That's all. Once you're done, please come down and save this. Okay. Once your application is updated, then you have to go to multiple browser. By default, when you don't define any cloud service like Browserstack, Lambda test or Sauce Lab, you will see by default provider is testRigor. It means you will be running test on testRigor cloud, where they have provided all this environment for you. But in our case, we already have created an account. We have a different platform where we want to run our test. So this option will be enabled the moment you enter username and access key. If you notice, the moment first of all, let me show you this part. When I use testRigor provider, I get only OS options and the browser option. So whatever latest OS and the latest browser. But if I want a different versions, different browsers, then we will be selecting Browserstack. Now if you click on this, okay, it's not giving you this option. Okay, so let me do one thing. Let me first delete this, save this. Okay, it says at least one option we need. 1 second, it happens sometimes. Let me just quickly refresh. Come back again, use Browserstack. Yeah, now we have this option. Okay, so what I did actually, sometimes when you save and if it's not reflecting, just refresh the browser and we're good to go. So right now the default provider is testRigor and it is Ubuntu. Now I will be selecting Browserstack and let's say I want to run on Windows. So again, Windows, you can see from XP 7, 8, 8.1, 10, 11, all options are available. Right now I'm using MacBook M1. So let's say I want to run on Windows 11 now. So I will say Windows 11. Again, on Windows 11, which browser you want to use? We have 3 browsers right now: Chrome, Firefox, Edge. Let me run on the Chrome. Again, you can see a huge version list, which version you want to use. So at the time of recording, we have the latest one, 106. So I can go with the latest one or 105. Let me select 105. Click on add browser. And I don't want to use, as of now, testRigor provider. I only want to use Browserstack. So I have deleted the default one. Similarly, let's say this time I want to run, okay, Windows 11, but this time Edge also, let's say 105. One more, this time I will say Firefox. Again, for Firefox they have huge list. Again I will go with so it is Chrome, Edge and Firefox. Let's take one more option where instead of 11, let me go with 8. You can see now they have different options: iBrowser, Firefox, Edge. Let me go with Opera and Opera 12.16. It means now my each and every test will be running parallelly on 4 different platforms. So Windows 11 Chrome, Windows 11 Edge, Windows 11 Firefox, Windows 8 Opera, but there's no limit. You can add any browser combination and it will work. Yeah, so let me click on save. Application updated, all fine. So from test suite setting side, it's all done. First step, you will be going to integration, select Browserstack, provide the username access key. This is what we have done. Save this. After that, come to multiple browser, select Browserstack from the drop down, give all this combination. Now you can start writing your test. By default, each and every test will be running parallelly on 4 combination. You don't have to mention anything. Since you're given 4 combination, parallelly all will run. That is a very interesting part here. So what we can do, click on the test case, and this is the freshly test suite we created. So obviously we don't have any test case. So let's create a custom test case, and let me write here, log into application. And if you are completely new, what to write, what not to write, you can follow the documentation. This is the application where I want to log in and I want to verify whether I'm able to log in successfully or not. Okay, so let's continue now, and here you can write the custom steps with new line separated. And if you are completely new, please read the documentation. In my previous videos, I have already shown how to type, how to click, how to select values from drop down. So please go ahead and check out that playlist. In the documentation, if you want to, enter something, or click something, you can just refer this documentation. Our main motto of this video is to show you the integration with Browserstack, so I can write any test and it should run. So let me write enter. This is the application, right? So here, let's say I want to enter admin into this username. So I will say enter. In double quotes, I will type admin into, in double quotes, just the label name. That's all. Now, if you go with traditional automation tools, you need to write the code. You need to write the code to start browser, to type, to find element and all, right? Here, no, just the plain English in order to continue. So I will say enter admin into username. Then I will say enter admin123. This is the password. This is same for you as well. And in double quotes, I will again say that I want to type in the password. That's all. It will enter, it will do the password. Now I want to click. So for click, now you don't need any locator. I can see the text here called login, right? So I can say click and login. That's all. My test is done. Now if you want to verify, for example, I will log into this application and I need to verify maybe, okay, this add button, admin, PIM, leave. So I can just quickly see whether this add button is available or not. Or let's say I will verify this icon or image, or I will verify this text. It's up to you what kind of validation you want to keep. So let's say I want to verify whether this add button is present or not. So in order to verify this, I will come back here and I will say verify, not verify. Here we have something called check. Yeah, can you see this? Check that page contains. So I can use this directly. See, that's the advantage of this. They have given everything in the documentation. You don't need to go to any different blogs or any documentation. I will just check that page contains add. That's all. So let me check once. Enter admin username, click login, check that page contains add, or add and run. Now if you click on this, you can see the test is running and you will see one execution ID. So one thing that you will notice, it is running on Windows Chrome, Windows Edge, Windows Firefox, Windows Opera. So it's running parallelly. And if I open this execution ID, yeah, it is getting loaded. Yeah, it's running one by one. So this is in progress, in queue, in queue, in queue. So within a second everything will be running. And yes, so this is 11 with Chrome, 11 with Edge, 11 Firefox, 11 with Opera. Everything is running in parallel. But how you will check whether it's actually running or not? Just go here and on the left hand side, can you see it's actually executing one by one, Firefox, Edge, Chrome, and it will take few seconds and we will get the results. So Opera 1, okay, one is already completed. Let me see the Opera 1. Yeah, Opera 1 actually takes some time. It's loading. You can see, right, this one. So let's wait. And other things is getting executed. So this one is already done. This one is already done. This one is still in progress. Once it is done, you will get the results directly here. So let me quickly show you this part. Yeah, this is executed and you can see we got the complete video as well. Just see in a full screen. Yes, it loaded. It will enter admin 123. See, you will see some, it's little slow. So when you use these services, right, Browserstack and other services, it will be little slow, but you will not see the different result. It will work in the same manner, but it will be little slow as compared to the testRigor provider. Yeah. So I will keep it here. It entered username, password. Yes, we are able to see add. That's all. And then it will verify. Similarly, this also executed, Firefox also executed. Only thing that we need to see is this Opera one. So this one will take time, okay, so but still you can see it executed all the other combinations. And the very important part, you will see a Word document. So let's say I want to see everything in my Word document. So click on this icon and yes, it downloaded the complete test in my Word document. So it will show you what is your test case name, how much time it took, modified, executed, on which browser and which OS you executed, and the link to the execution. And here it is showing you what are the steps that got executed. Enter admin 123 into password login along with the screenshot, and this is checking whether add is available or not. you can see this add employee is getting highlighted red because add is coming here, add is coming here. So this add employee also is valid because add employee will only come if you are able to log in successfully. So this is one of the great feature by testRigor. Along with that, you can see PDF. So if you want to download and see in the PDF format, it's available. Yeah, same thing but in a PDF format. So how easy it is, right? You just need all the configuration, no code required. So let me repeat the complete process once again. You create a test suite, provide the name, and you can create your test suite. Go to Browserstack, go to your dashboard, copy the access key and the username. Then go to testRigor. In the settings, in the integration, enable your Browserstack, give the username, access key, save. Then go to multiple browsers, select the provider as Browserstack, select whatever different platform browsers you want, and you can start executing your test. By default, each and every test will be running in parallel. So the moment you have given 3-4 combination, the moment you execute, it will be triggering on Browserstack and you are getting report here. If you want the detailed report, you can go here, see the complete recording. You can see the different logs here, visual logs, networks logs, and other logs as well. Yeah. So please give a try from your side and let me know if you face an issue, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.